culinary experience at Oak Street. Make your reservations for dinner or staycation. Oak Street Inn and Lounge.com.
Hi, I'm Helene Tobler, culinary nutritionist at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Here we do practical wellness. Dr. Randy and I have a common sense approach to healthcare. My passion is helping our members enjoy better nutrition because food is medicine. We approach problems with a lifestyle foundation and cutting-edge medical tool chest. At Body of Health, it's about being your healthiest you. If you want to experience healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
You can't get food like this in Paris. Bring the family for breakfast and brunch to Nadine's Hash House, offering home-style cooked meals the way your mother made them. Try the savory Southside Slinger, the cinnamon streusel pancakes, or Nadine's famous hash. Make sure to follow Nadine's Hash House on Facebook for weekly specials. Open today from 7 till 1:30 in Soulard on Broadway. Nadine's Hash House. You can't get food like this in Paris. Nadine'sHashHouse.com.
Hey, it's Nick Schroer. To preserve this nation, to preserve the experiment in liberty that our founders envisioned, we must take a stand and fight. Join me Sunday nights at 8 p.m. only on News Talk STL.
Stand and Fight with Nick Schroer. Brought to you in part by Complete Auto Body at CompleteAB.com.
School bus driver in a traffic jam, staring at the faces in a rearview mirror, looking at the promise of the promised land. One kid dreams of fame and fortune. One kid helps pay the rent. One could end up going to prison. One just might be president.
Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer.
Only in America.
Randy Tobler.
Dreaming in red, white, and blue.
On News Talk STL.
Broadcasting from the Liberty Lair. Hope your radios are turned up because we have a power-packed show for you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ranty Tobler Show.
There he is. I don't know how much ranting will be going on today. A little under the weather as we bring you the show at the end of the year here. But we're going to forge on through as there is a battle going on in MAGA land, MAGA versus tech giants Musk and Ramaswamy over H-1B migration and immigration. That has really been dominating the last few days of the news cycle. But today we want to talk about some things looking forward, too. We're going to be talking with an AI expert, speaking of tech. Mike McClary is going to join us at 6:25 to talk about that. The open AI people are now talking about raising capital, maybe not being free. We'll have to explore that with him. And I know, Jerome, you and I were talking about that a little bit. Interesting how as AI gets surging in momentum, maybe they're going to change their business plan. I don't blame them. I mean, if everyone else is making hay off of it, why should they offer it free? But we're not really sure of how that corporate structure is going to be poised yet.
Yeah, that's sort of the good and the bad with this kind of technology is that a lot of companies start off wanting to do something open source, meaning that everybody's able to use it and contribute to it. But then they see how much they're actually losing out on potential gains, and then they have to figure out, well, you still need people that can work on this. That requires money, so we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, they keep the integrity of it at least.
And that relates to the whole H-1B or visa issue. I think most of us would agree that if you're going to have people immigrate, you'd rather have those that are less likely to be fentanyl distributors, sex traffickers, violent criminals, and so highly skilled engineering types. It makes sense if you're going to allow people in. I know Mark Krikorian from the Center for Immigration Studies released a piece saying that there might be a way to do both of them, actually decrease overall legal immigration, but maintain only the very highest levels of income for those people coming in that just right now we may not have the bench, if you will, to support that. But it's turned into quite a quite a firestorm. I mean, Laura Loomer is all over Ramaswamy. Ramaswamy is saying we need more valedictorians and less prom queens. And I mean, it's getting into an ugly mud wrestling match, So I, for one, hope that, again, we don't, the Republican Party, the conservative movement tends to have this uncanny ability to, have the tailwinds at their back and then start walking into the tailwinds and make them headwinds and start arguing with one another and get a circular firing squad. I think it's fair to say that the MAGA core probably wants to protect American jobs up and down the job spectrum. On the other hand, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a tech guy. I don't know whether we actually have the people here in America to drive this AI thing. We're going to talk with Mike about that because from what I see, what I read, the human resources, the energy resources, the chip resources that are needed to drive this movement are just insatiable. I mean, it's like nothing we've ever experienced before.
Well, and part of the issue too is that there was a lot of layoffs that were announced right before Christmas time, around Thanksgiving time. And then we also have to compete with the fact that AI has been responsible for a lot of companies downsizing. So you have this rift where, a lot of what MAGA was supporting with voting for Donald Trump is getting rid of the illegals, freeing up these positions for Americans, restoring our meritocracy and getting back on the right path of training domestically and giving Americans jobs. And what this announcement from Musk and Vivek came right around the time of people that are Americans being laid off. AI is still a threat to a lot of positions. And then now they're saying, well, we need more skilled people. And so let's just import them legally. And it just came off tone deaf. And I think that's why a lot of people, there's such backlash to it.
No, I agree. I mean, I think it's going to be a thread the needle kind of a thing from Donald Trump's perspective to try to manage this to where he doesn't alienate those who are thrilled that, after all, Elon Musk and Ramaswamy had a lot to do with getting him to the dance, and so he doesn't, I don't think, want to alienate a lot of those folks who might agree that we do have a cultural problem in America. I mean, I think it was interesting. Ramaswamy had written something to the tune of we need less, less mall walking and more extracurricular activities, more science fairs on the weekends rather than chilling at the mall, So I think in a way he's right. I think that if you ask most HR managers over the last 10 to 20 years, they would tell you that, and I know I've been, a leader at an institution where you just, and present company excluded, Jerome, present company excluded, the expectations of the work-life balance in Gen Z and even late millennials, I think, is just vastly different than it was for, the baby boomers and Gen X. And so if you're talking about productivity, people, I think, protect their time a little bit more, their private time, their personal time now. Now, can you have both ways with technology rising, with AI, with the advent of that? Maybe you can have it both ways now. You can be highly productive and enjoy the work-life balance. But, I don't know. It took a hell of a lot of hard work to get us to the moon, to get Apple and Microsoft launched, and to lead us in so many other technological fields.
Yeah, and I don't want to downplay the significance of restoring our cultural attitude towards hard work because, again, at least with my generation, the millennials and younger, it's a very sort of coddled generation. So even when you're, 16, 17, 18 years old, there's not a lot of emphasis on learning the skills to work hard, to have responsibility. You're still seen as a minor, you're not an adult. So this mentality of, I don't want to say it's a childish mentality, but there's not really, and I think it comes from the parenting, of course, but there's not really this push to start to develop the skills that we see in some of my friends who are first generation immigrants. Their parents, when they were, 12, 13 years old, they were already helping around the house. They were already taking care of cooking for themselves. And so by the time that they were, 16 and 17, it was already expected you were going to start looking for a job. You were going to, figure the stuff out. So I think if we could restore that sort of attitude and not just have it be 19 and 20-year-olds can stay home as long as you're in junior college, you can play video games and go and do whatever you want to do, but actually have that work ethic instilled at a younger age, I think we would see a lot of improvement when it comes to not having to worry about where our skilled labor is going to come from in the future.
Well, we have the other facet of this whole multifaceted problem. These people will generally, workers from foreign countries, whether they're agricultural workers, whether they're hospitality workers, or I think in the engineering and the tech fields, they will tend to work for less. Now, you could argue, are Americans too used to and too entitled to early career-wise, early gains, early, the suburban, the 5-bedroom house with 4 baths and, 2 bars, one up and one downstairs, Um, I don't know. I mean, I think that somehow we've come to expect that this notion of delayed gratification of, start at the bottom rung, pay your dues, work hard, because like Kamala said, hard work is good work. I noticed it in medical school students, and it's not all of them, but many of them have already started their families, bought very nice houses, the latest model cars, and then they complain that they have student debt. Well, it's not all student debt. That's living debt, And I think that may be indicative and representative of the way a lot of young people are. They see their parents that had more of a materialistic success trajectory, and they want that now rather than waiting for it, which raises the labor rates too, the labor market rates, if that's the expectation.
Well, and I think another part of that, again, just reflecting on my own experience, is that we're almost promised that is what's going to happen. When you're in high school, at least for me, they really ingrained it. You're going to be a poor loser, nobody that everybody's going to look down on if you don't take out these exorbitant student loans to go to the, a specific college. But if you do get that piece of paper, that diploma, then you will be making all this money right off the bat. You'll be so much further ahead. And so I think that there's a combination of, on the one hand, we're being promised something that is not conducive to reality at an age where we don't really know what reality is in the real world. And then on the other hand of that, I think a lot of the idea of looking at upward mobility not being as accessible, because a lot of people that are my age, again, they see how a lot of very skilled, very lots of work experience people are either stuck in a position that they're sometimes overqualified for, or they're laid off and replaced or downsized. And if there's not that feeling that if I put my nose to the grindstone and I work here for 5-6 years and I will be able to work my way up by putting in the midnight oil, versus, well, I'm going to put a bunch of years here, I'm going to be stuck where I'm at, and then I'm going to be downsized the moment it's more profitable for them to get rid of me, then I think that is also a detractor with our work ethic as younger generations.
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't know. It just sort of goes back to the old mantra of, work hard, pay your dues, and generally good things will happen, rather than do whatever it takes to get an inflated diploma and then expect that you're going to have your first job is going to be a corner, penthouse in the glass tower, on the 10th floor, and you're going to be in the C-suite right away. And I think it's just a part of that is my generation's fault. The helicopter moms, the bulldozer moms and dads, right?
Participation
my
trophies,
kid can do no wrong. Everyone gets a trophy, whether they win or not. As long as they compete, they get a ribbon. And so I think there's a lot of culpability to go there. But we'll talk with Mike McClary about that. Nick Schroer is going to join us then at the 7:00 hour, and of course Senator Schroer is going to be he's an important pillar here on weekends on News Talk STL, but also in the General Assembly that starts in just a few short weeks here. He'll be with us at 7:25 to talk about the year past, maybe analyze some of the dysfunction, a big change in personnel at the General Assembly, especially in the Senate, and see what can be done, whether it's education, whether it's taxes, law and order. I mean, I think those are the three big things that conservatives would like to see something change. And we'll talk with Nick with a look back and a look forward on the state scene. And Tim Jones will do the same type of analysis, but on the national scene at 8:06. So it's a big show as we wrap up the year here on the Randy Tobler Show. There was something that if you can get number R6 up. Clip R6 highlights something that I think is something that is going to be a theme throughout the year. Rand Paul released his Festivus report, $1 trillion in savings. And this is just a little clip of what he was talking about with some of the absurd spending that goes on with our government. Take a listen.
The only way to get rid of it is to spend less money. So if you give the National Science Foundation $4 billion one year, and then you increase it to $8 billion, It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that you're going to get more waste, not less. This has been going on since the 70s, but it has exploded. But you have to be willing to cut spending for the overall department.
Well, so then if you look at this Festivus report, we heard about those ghost buildings where basically they're maintaining, leasing, and furnishing almost entirely empty buildings. And that's, the Doge people talked about that, probably about 10 billion there. We have the Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, awarded a $2 million grant to study kids looking at Facebook ads about food. I mean, are you kidding me? So they were gauging the reaction of children when looking at Facebook ads about various foods. I mean, do we really need to study that? What value does that add? And why are we spending $2 million on that? Oh, here's one. The Department of HHS spent $419,000 to determine if lonely rats seek cocaine more than happy rats.
How do I become a rat?
Here's one. The Department of State spent $345,000 on football engagement to counter terrorism. Treasury Department granted a failed trucking company a $700 million pandemic-era loan. We're paying $900 in fiscal year 24. This is on the interest on the credit card. I mean, this kind of stuff needs to stop. And we'll go through some of these as we continue on. Virginia Kruta, of course, will join us at 7:45. Talk to her about some of that. There's one called Girls Just Want to Have Funds, F-U-N-D-S. The girls just want to have funds. We'll talk about that too. What do you say we step aside and then talk to Mike McClary when we come back? Get into this tech thing, maybe get a real sense of how dire is the need for outside talent. And is it just a matter of cheap outside talent, or is it, in fact, necessary outside talent, no matter the price? I think that's a fundamental question. We'll talk with Mike McClary, AI expert, when we come back on the Tobler Show. News Talk STL 1019 94.1. Stay tuned.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer, on News Talk STL. Number one for live and local
Conservative talk.
Every day, something new.
News, analysis, opinion.
A ceasefire between Israel and the militant group Hezbollah.
This is designed to be a permanent cessation of hostilities. Don't cross that line.
President Biden pardoning his son, Hunter.
Said, quote, Hunter was singled out only because he is my son.
This is just yet another broken promise by Joe Biden.
1019 and 94.1.
St. Louis is number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros, your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. We discovered Gutter Pros a few years ago when we bought our home and inherited a gutter issue that was on the road to becoming a potentially big problem, but thanks to Gutter Pros was stopped before causing any major damage. They've also repaired the siding on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros are also the best for siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros can help your home at gutterpros.com.
Looking for top quality tactical gear and expert advice? Look no further than Discount Tactical, your one-stop shop for all things firearms and self-defense. Located in the heart of Warrenton, we've been serving the community for 3 years with our friendly, professional, and knowledgeable staff. From custom AR builds and silencers to the largest selection of parts, we've got you covered. Self-defense weapons, SBRs, knives, ammo, custom holsters, weapon lights, optics, and body armor. Discount Tactical. Online at discounttacticalarmory.com or stop by today and gear up with confidence.
Hey, Colombo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
I'm so tired of my water smelling like rotten eggs. Iron foul. It makes my clothes and home smell, and my sink and faucet look dirty. I'm calling Jones Air and Water Treatment for their solution to this pollution.
Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to your pollution. Call now for your free water analysis at 636-899-1040 and live with clean, great-tasting water. That's 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
This is Larry Connors, and my favorite sandwich at Capriati's is a Philly cheesesteak with peppers, sweet peppers, but sometimes hot peppers. I love Capriati's, and so will you.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
This hour, the Randy Tobler Show is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
Kick the fathers out the house, send the mothers back to work. Let the school system parent your children right from the birth. Make them ill, feed them pills, confuse them about what's real. Tell them facts don't really matter, it's all about how you feel. Science and math are racist, history that's erasing. Indoctrinate a whole generation, you can't escape it. It's bigger than American politics, you're an accomplice. White people racist and bigots and you're a colonist.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer on News Talk STL. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter.
Well, we're back talking about this rift, this very deep rift that seems to be developing within the Republican Party over so-called high-skilled immigrant H-1B tech workers. Ramaswamy says, hey, they're just the culture doesn't support the workers that we need to drive the tech revolution in America, at least not now. And if we're going to import people, let's import people that have the highly skilled tool chest to get it done with the coming of AI and coming of age of AI. Well, we talk with Mike McClary now with Intervine and with amazing.com, an expert in the AI field and the tech field, and he joins us now. Mike, thanks for being with us. Happy New Year a little bit early.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Tobler. Hope you're feeling better. And hello, Jerome. Happy to spend this Saturday morning with you guys.
Yeah, I'm watching this from afar, and I have sort of mixed feelings about it because I've always thought that if you look at the European countries, if you look at our waves of immigration, and even after that, but before the preposterous Biden policies, we had a quota every year of immigrants, and a fair amount of them were supposed to be skilled people that weren't going to be drug runners, sex traffickers, violent criminals. So I see, I can see both sides of the story. What is the real story about the available pool of people to drive the tech revolution called AI?
Well, I mean, we are struggling to get those people here to do it. And if you look at our country, I still believe we're the strongest, most technologically advanced. Clearly, from our businesses that have, opened up this whole AI field, that's clear. However, we don't always have people who can do all the great technically advanced work we need to. There are countries right now that I fear, and I don't have, any factual evidence to back this up other than hearing other people in industry talk about it. But there's people that fear that countries like China specifically really have come up and have almost an advantage on us when it comes to the tech world. They don't have the same restrictions we have, which is going to be something we're going to have to definitely dance around. But, we are putting in guardrails right now when developing AI because we have to. But our foreign adversaries, they don't have those guardrails. So they can have as many people as they want, pay them whatever they want, come and build tech that could outdo ours. I mean, it could be in quantum, computing. It could be in drone technology, as we're, maybe seeing now. But we have to face the fact that we need to have the right talent here to do it. And I think the key is, if we don't have it all right here, I'm like you guys, I'm totally fine bringing in people that are contributing to America, bringing their expertise, their talents, rather than those that are, kind of draining on it. And I think those quotas have not been followed for a long time. Unless the quota has been infinity, we haven't really been, sticking to those quotas for bringing in talented people. And I know people who are in this space who have a really difficult time getting the right visas because that process is so complicated.
Yeah. What's your reaction to the pushback against Ramaswamy by Laura Loomer predominantly and others that say, look, you're just advocating because you're self-serving, you and Elon Musk. Elon Musk made a simple one line, just ignore her. She's, looking for attention on the Twitter. But what's your reaction to the claim by those in the MAGA core against the H-1B visa expansion that says, look, this is just a ruse to get cheap labor in here and displace higher paid, well-paid American engineers?
Well, you can't deny the fact that overseas labor, and I think you guys were talking about that earlier, even in the tech industry, is more affordable. However, I do think it's possible you can be both self-serving and doing the right thing at the same time. Will companies like OpenAI, X, Microsoft, Google, Anthropic, will these companies benefit from that? Absolutely, they will. But I also think that it's still the right thing. If we fall behind when it comes to AI, our country, I believe, will be at a serious disadvantage. If, for example, if China is able to achieve AGI, which is kind of the next level we believe we're going to hit next year, and then super intelligence, which is the next level after that, if they achieve that before us because they're putting all their resources into it and we don't do that, we will be at a disadvantage, almost as if someone else would have created a nuclear bomb before we did.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that existentially threatening. I guess I guess that speaks to the enormous power. This is really a quantum leap in civilization, right? I mean, we're looking at the equivalent of, going from horse and buggy to the combustion engine, right? And going from
it's a great
wired
example.
telephones to the wireless, internet age, I guess, as well. You mentioned OpenAI. I found it interesting. I saw it yesterday. I think it was on CNBC. Saw a story that OpenAI is going to change their business model. I thought I guess they do have a for-profit sector or a section within their company, but they're going to change it to something like a public service company. I don't know, and they're going to raise more capital. What's going on with OpenAI? I thought they were going to be sort of like the general availability for most average people.
I think they're still going to do that, but I think they realize that they need more money, and big investors aren't really as keen to invest in a company when their earnings are capped because of their current structure. They do have for-profit, they do have non-for-profit right now as well, and it looks like, and I had that when I heard this too, Randy. I had that a public beneficial corporation. I'd never heard of that before. I didn't know it even existed.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you meld a for-profit and a non-for-profit together to try to give them the boast of the best world.
Yeah.
And they believe that model will help get more investment. I mean, they've only raised 18 billion, Dr. Tobler. I mean, they need a lot more than that. I say that jokingly because
just
they
peanuts.
do.
Yeah, peanuts. I mean, come on.
It's an ungodly amount of money, that's for sure. But they do need more if they're going to keep up with the likes of Google and Microsoft and other companies in this market.
So I've been playing with the Gemini app, which is, I guess, a Google product. And thus far, I haven't had to pay anything for it. I don't know. I think it's like most of the apps, they get you sucked in and get you all, addicted to it. And then they start charging you for things. But I find it interesting. I mean, I don't know. To me, it just seems like a really high-powered, glorified search engine right now. Maybe I'm not using it right. But what's your advice for people that want to tiptoe into the consumer, just the everyday person on the street, everyday person using AI?
I think it's a great option. Google's Gemini model is a great place to start because it is free. And Google really blazed the trail when it comes to giving away free apps. Anyone can go out there and use their Google Sheets, which competes with Excel. They can use their Docs, which competes with Microsoft Word. They can use Gemini, which is their version of ChatGPT, which is free. I believe they'll always keep a portion of that free, and then what they'll do is they'll monetize it by making more advanced versions. And they've done it already. There are more advanced versions of their apps out there right now that their hope is to get corporations paying for it. That's like where the real money comes into play. So luckily for us, we'll always have advantage of that. I also believe that OpenAI with ChatGPT will always keep a free version. They announced, I don't know if you heard this, they announced a telephone version over the holidays, where if you don't have access to a smartphone and you want your mom or grandma to use ChatGPT, they can call 1-800-CHAT-GPT and talk to ChatGPT on the phone for free and ask them any questions they want. So they're trying to live up to that free model and letting people have access to it. And I can tell you, like, to the point of your question, if I were looking to improve my life in 2025, I believe that right now, with the free availability of AI, because they're all letting people use it for free, it is one of the best tools you can use out there to help it plan your goals and help you stick to your goals as well. It can basically be your personal coach that plans things out, motivates you, and keeps you on track.
Now, you do that a lot with your company, with amazing.com, from what I can see on the website, right? You are helping people use AI, business people use AI to, I guess, streamline their product offerings, identify what works and what doesn't, and then scale things rather than sort of the old-fashioned way of trial and error and, have meetings with people with spreadsheets and, sticky notes and 3M things all over the wall.
Yeah, we try to do that as much as we can because it's one of those things where if you're not doing it, everyone else is doing it. And I have personally seen my own productivity, my quality of life go up because there are things that I can kind of hand off to the chat GPT to do things such as I can give it just a vast amount of random data. I can download a sales report or a traffic report from our website, and I can just upload it and say, tell me, what do you see? I don't even got to give it any guidance. Now, it's better, of course, if you give it guidance, but it can do that kind of blind analysis where it's getting it smart enough to figure all this out and give me the kind of analysis where we'd have to, pay someone to do that. And that really helps a lot because we're a small company. Everyone in small startups like ours and other companies, you wear a million hats. So having this personal assistant help you out is really a life-changing thing. And I think what we're going to see in 2025 is that come to the average consumer. I think having these agents available where you can use them to help you out in maybe making, let's say vacation plans or shopping or returning a product for you. That's all coming in 2025. And I think it'll be the first year that we're able to see where AI can actually do things for you instead of just answering questions, which is really going to be a benefit to all of us to make our lives better.
Yeah, I mean, that utilitarian aspect is exciting. I think we all, I guess, in the back of our minds have these doomsday scenarios that we've heard about where the AI takes over and, suddenly unleashes a electromagnetic pulse on the nation because it doesn't like us, whatever. But I guess that's where you talked about guardrails earlier, that, there has to be some kind of restriction. Someone's got to be having a leash on this technology. Are you optimistic that there's a way to manage the technology so it doesn't manage us to our own detriment, either individually or as a population?
Yeah, I am optimistic because there's been other situations where we've had to face, I guess, similar changes in technology, and we've been able to manage it. The biggest example is going to be, the nuclear regulations that came out in the 40s or 50s, because once we realized that if anyone knew how to build a nuclear bomb, that would be bad. And so we had to put in these guardrails and regulations. It's hurt us in a lot of aspects from education because it kind of limits our research in the field of physics. But it has done a good job over 75 years, making sure that, knock on wood, there hasn't been another incident like potentially could have had. So I think those same types of guardrails, and it's going to be, to me, a combination of private and public interests. So some kind of government regulations, some kind of businesses, maybe with a board or advisory board who balances out the needs to let the research go forward so that we don't get behind our adversaries, but also so it doesn't, fly off the guardrails where we're left with anyone can go out there, research anything they want to, and really do some dangerous things with it. It is going to be a balancing act, but I'm confident that we can do it because we have to. I don't see another option. We can't put the genie back in the box. We can't stand still and do nothing. We can't let it run wild. So kind of have to do that.
Yeah, good point. I mean, you're not, like you say, it's the horse is out of the barn, so you got to try to make it work somehow. All right, so here's the last question for you. We talked about human resources and the whole flap over H-1B visa, and is there a place for a limited and well-defined number of tech engineers? I think the answer is probably, if it's done in a reasonable and rational way, maybe there's a way to make that happen without displacing qualified American workers. But what about just the raw computing availability? So I keep thinking about stories I've read over the last 5 to 10 years about how China is planting its stake, its flag on various places, the Arctic, the Antarctic, I mean, Greenland, wherever, for the precious special metals and things that are needed to make these chips. Are we going to be able to have the capital and the material resources to fuel this revolution in America and in the West, I guess, in general?
Well, if you were to ask me what's the biggest thing holding us up from making even faster advancements in the world of AI, I would tell you it's power. Materials is whole nother story, but I think we're sitting pretty good here in the United States, as long as we allow us to get access to the raw materials that we need. But the power needed to run these AI data processing facilities, each one takes as much as like a small city. And I say small city, like 250,000 people. The power is vast that is needed to do these, and that's what's holding us back. Now, here's the benefit. And here's the one thing that a lot of people haven't really thought of, is that we had one of the best sources of clean power in nuclear energy. But of course, there is dangers with that. There absolutely is. We saw 3 Mile Island, we saw other Chernobyl, other terrible incidents as well, which really clamped down our research and the growth of nuclear energy. Now, in the past couple of years, these big tech companies, Google, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, they've been quietly investing in small nuclear plants because they realize they need this power. They can't get it. Otherwise, they're going to take it away from all of us who have it. So they have to actually help invest in these small portable nuclear power plants in order to drive the power they're going to need. The benefit is now we have tech companies with hundreds of billions of dollars investing in it, where instead of us as consumers would have to pay our tax money to invest in it, they're investing in it. They're going to solve this problem because they have to stay alive as businesses, which means they're going to drive the research into more nuclear energy in order to make it clean, accessible. And I think we're all going to benefit from that. And if we can do that, that's going to help solve a lot of the power problems. But that's a 3 to 5 year, kind of runway for them to get these things up and running. But I see that's a very positive thing to us. And then we're also going to put some data centers in outer space. But that might be a topic for another time.
Yeah, the mother of invention is necessity, right? So if they need the power, they need to find a way to contribute to that parallel technological revolution. That makes sense. I remember seeing a story on one of the TV magazines about Bill Gates moving a sodium cooled nuclear reactor into a coal mining town. It was either Montana or Wyoming. And all the guys were worried about losing their jobs from the coal mining. Well, they moved horizontally. I mean, they just moved over to be a nuclear techs rather than coal miners. And it actually seemed to be working out. I mean, I think it's still in evolution, but I'm a big nuclear fan. I mean, I think this is the future. And like you say, if they need it, they will find a way to get it, the tech companies, and probably do it in a responsible and affordable and accessible way. That'd be great. Sure, like that a lot better than windmills all across the landscape. I don't know about you, Mike.
Well, I think the birds will like it too, Dr. Tobler. And, and we don't even know if the jobs are going to come out of AI right now. But look what happened in the horse and buggy age. You mentioned it before. People thought that all the people shoeing horses are going to go out of business. Well, they kind of did, but they moved on into industrial jobs, building, automobiles and such. Same thing happened when the internet came about in the 90s. People thought this digital revolution was going to kill all these other jobs out there. It opened up digital marketing, digital advertising, and now that's one of the most popular jobs out there. There are going to be jobs coming out of AI that we can't even conceive right now. And so people will have to learn, they'll have to evolve, but we're not killing every job out there, but everyone we kill, we're most likely also creating another job that we can't even imagine at this point.
That's an exciting time. So I'm thankful that you're unpacking it in a way that I think we can all understand and have a little more optimism about it. I'm seeing one of our listeners write on our YouTube feed here that I'm a senior citizen. I'm a little scared of talking to AI. Well, maybe they ought to just play with it. It's not that scary. It's pretty fun, actually. So
it can be. I talk to it all the time. I use it as a personal assistant and a coach to bounce things off of. This morning on my morning walk with my son, we were doing it, talking about, what is AI really going to do in 2025 for us, just to share ideas. It's very simple. Right now, it is truly safe. Of course, it can go off the rails, but I would just sit down and talk to it like a person. Pull up the free ChatGPT. It has a voice mode on your phone. You click the button, you talk back and forth and have a conversation, and you'll realize it's no more different than talking to a really, really smart computer to answer anything that it can help you with.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Well, Mike, as this unfolds, we'll keep in touch with you, and I hope folks will check out your websites, intervine.com and amazing.com. A lot of great tactical stuff on that Intervine for maybe someone wants to buy themselves a present they didn't get in their stocking. Intervine has a lot of nice things there too. Mike McClary, thanks for being with us. Appreciate all of your insight. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Well, there he is. What do you think? I think the only way to do this is embrace it, be aware of the hazards, of the pitfalls, but also of the advantages it can bring. And, just keep an eye on things like we do in every technological revolution. We'll see how it happens. When we come back, where does parental accountability for juvenile behavior begin and end? A story out of Houston highlights that when we come back on the Tobler Show. Stay tuned.
Put your hands up, everybody stand up. The whole world's going mad, bruh. 2 + 2 = 5. You a racist if you don't think that adds up. Go and put your hands up, everybody stand up. The whole world's going mad, bruh.
We can't put the genie back in the box. We can't stand still and do nothing. We can't let it run wild. So kind of have to do that.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk. Live and local.
I need to know what's going on in my city.
News Talk STL.
Nate Lucas here for the Village Bar in the heart of Des Peres. Since 1948, the Village Bar has been the go-to destination for delicious food, cold drinks, and unbeatable atmosphere. Savor their famous wings, burgers, and onion rings, or grab a drink from their fully stocked bar. Catch all the big games and enjoy the company of their friendly staff. Plus, don't miss the 1879 Distillery, a one-of-a-kind experience right next door. The Village Bar offers the best value in town. Find the Village Bar on Facebook and come experience where history meets great times. You'll be glad you did.
Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor. Congratulations to the awesome team at Connor Roofing for earning the 2024 National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction. Connor Roofing has now won back-to-back honors because they do outstanding work in all types of roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. We chose Connor Roofing without telling the owners, Rob and Kathy Connor. Their customer reviews are some of the best in the country. Please read them. Visit ConnorRoofing.com and request an estimate. Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor.
Ready to soar beyond your limits? The U.S. Air Force and Space Force offer more than just a job. It's a launch pad for your future. With over 200 career paths, competitive pay, benefits, free education, 30 days paid vacation, and a chance to travel the globe, all while serving your country with pride. Your journey starts here. Call Jeremy Jefferson in St. Louis at 314-295-6834 or visit airforce.com and spaceforce.com today.
Sievers JCB, a trusted leader in agriculture and construction. Connect with SieversJCB.com and browse their inventory or stop by and let them show you the capabilities of the JCB lineup. Telebooms, skid steers, loaders, forklifts, excavators, backhoes, and more. JCB has pushed diesel to its limits with machines that now emit 50% less CO2. JCB's new Icon software system will blow your mind, offering iConfigure, iConnect, and iControl. Learn more at SieversJCB.com.
Sievers JCB is proud to be the heavy equipment partner of Monster Jam.
Hey, it's Vic. Are you worried about rising taxes? Well, you're not alone. With government spending outpacing revenue, many Americans fear a tax hike is on the horizon. But here's the good news. You have options. Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management specializes in tax-efficient strategies for income planning, legacy, and growth. Chris knows your money will go to one of three places: the government, healthcare, or your family and charities. Shouldn't your loved ones come first? Don't let Uncle Sam be your biggest beneficiary. Take control of your financial future today. Visit SerenityNowTax.com for your free copy of Chris's book, The New Holistic Retirement. Serenity Wealth Management, because you deserve peace of mind in retirement. Request your free book today at SerenityNowTax.com. That's SerenityNowTax.com to get your free copy of The New Holistic Retirement. That's SerenityNowTax.com. Serenity Now! With Chris Cooper.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors. Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL.
All your hard-earned tax dollars and mine are going to fund illegal aliens who come across the border penniless, jobless, skillless, and they're given a cell phone, an identity, and a cash stipend every month.
Mark McCloskey on fire.
That beats your Social Security income if you should have the good nature to work your ass off your whole life and retire.
Mark McCloskey on fire. Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL. Brought to you in part by Modern Weapon Systems in Fenton. This hour, The Randy Tobler Show is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
Thank God for the daylight. I spent a long time in the dark. Felt good saying goodbye. Waking up to a brand new heart. And if you're sleeping like I used to be, in a grave that holds you tight, there's a savior calling.
Hispanics. He won Muslims in Southeast Michigan. He won Orthodox.
It is believed the incident occurred due to an attempted aggravated robbery that involved the juveniles attempting to rob the adult male. During the incident, the juveniles approached the male and they were displaying pistols. The adult male retrieved his own pistol and shot the juveniles. We ask the community for your patience because we are going to be out here for a couple of more hours or so, processing the scene, canvassing the area, interviewing our witnesses, interviewing all possible victims, and also the suspects.
Well, that was Major Saul Suarez of the Harris County. That's where Houston is, Harris County Sheriff's Office. about this this interesting incident that happened Thursday morning early, where these three kids approached a man and his woman coming home from a party, man and his girlfriend coming home from a party. I don't know if it was his wife or girlfriend. And they were brandishing what appeared to be weapons. Now, there are some reports that say they were BB guns. Others say they were, real pistols, but I'm sure that they had the appearance of that. And they approached him and they pointed guns at him in an attempt to rob him. That's what he told police. 25-year-old male. He was detained after shooting them. One of the juveniles, these were males, 12 to 14 years old. They detained a fourth one, but two were shot with non-life-threatening wounds, and one had multiple gunshots. And he's in the ICU after surgery. I don't know if he's still in the ICU. But it's really sparked a controversy and a conversation about where does parental responsibility for juvenile behavior begin and end, right? I mean, you think of the Crumleys up in Michigan this year that were convicted of manslaughter or murder? I think manslaughter, because their son used a gun to take out 3 or 4 individuals in a school. I don't know. There are mixed feelings about that. I think that the parents do have some culpability if they're not keeping an eye on their kids. This was early in the morning. What do you think?
Yeah. So when I lived in Kentucky and I was a manager, I actually had a 16-year-old pull out a gun on me to try to intimidate me, not like, stick it up to my back or nothing, but he definitely wanted me to know that he had it on him, and he was mad at his girlfriend and was trying to go into the store, kept telling me to bring her out there so we could talk to her. And I was trying to stall. And after I was able to talk him into letting me, hold on to it and put it in my car so he could go inside and, talk to her for a moment. It was definitely a real gun, but some of these BB guns, I have a couple air pistols that are just meant for little, I have a little dartboard and then my friends will shoot it. They look pretty real. So you never know, especially growing up in the Chicago area, St. Louis area, a lot of these areas, teenagers are oftentimes the ones that want to prove something. There are many times where victims have complied with robbers and still gotten shot. I think definitely when it comes to the reckless and violent behavior that we're seeing with a lot of these youth, charge the parents with child neglect, something that, because if you are active in your child's life and you are instilling good values and you are doing that stuff, your kid's not going to run around thinking it's okay to act like that. Yeah, the culpability, it's up to the parents to raise their children.
Well, you got to wonder where were these parents? This was apparently early in the morning, I think 12 a.m., if I'm not mistaken. And why didn't they have kids on a curfew? And if they weren't in the home, the police deputies responded to a call at an apartment complex around 12 a.m. local time. So, I mean, if my kid's not home and I don't know now, if he's at someone's house and I know about it, that's fine. But if you got to wonder, and what about access to these guns, whether it's a BB gun or not? I mean, you can do some damage with a BB gun or an air pistol. I don't know. But in the current liberal progressive prosecutorial realm, I don't know if the prosecutor down in that county is a Soros spawn. But if you think about it, these days, you defend yourself. Look at Daniel Penny.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a hero in my book, but yet the guy went through hell. Yeah, finally acquitted, but now he's facing a big civil suit. You try to do the right thing. You protect either yourself or others from evildoers, and somehow you're the bad guy.
Oh yeah, and there's a infamous case going around in pro 2A communities that I'm part of a Chicago man. There was a home intruder breaking into his daughter's window, his underage daughter's window. I believe the intruder was found to have had some sort of weapon on him, not a gun, but some sort of weapon on him. The father heard this and shot the guy as he was actively breaking into his daughter's window. And the father was the one that also got arrested. He legally owned the gun. He had his FOID card. He had everything he needed to legally possess this thing. And he was actually protecting his house and his family. And yet he still got charged for shooting a home invader. So that is, I think, the other half of the argument is, on the one hand, it seems like the people that are actually defending themselves and standing up to criminals and actually trying to make the community safer are the ones being punished, whereas teenagers running around with airsoft pistols pretending like they're going to rob somebody or actively trying to rob somebody, I guarantee you they would not face the same charges as an adult, right? So
right,
the law does not feel like it's there to protect us. It feels like it's there to punish us for protecting ourselves now. And I'm not sure. I mean, thank God I live in Missouri now, and that we actually have reasonable laws where I live. But it just seems like
Yeah.
there's some sort of, I mean, how do you explain that other than it's intentional to make us more complicit, to make us more vulnerable at the hands of the state?
Well, we do have the castle doctrine here in Missouri, and from what I understand, I mean, it's a fairly high bar to get in trouble for invoking that. It's a self-defense law that allows you to use physical force, even deadly force, to protect yourself and your property from intruders. I've heard that all you need to basically do is don't say much, just say you felt threatened, right? I mean, if you feel threatened, I guess you have some reason to do that. Now, I guess where it comes in is, does the force that you use to counter a threat need to be of the same magnitude? And maybe that's where it gets into trouble. If someone comes after you with a knife, you use a gun, is that going to get you in trouble? I don't know.
Well, and you would think just saying I was threatened, I felt threatened would be enough now. But again, after the George Zimmerman case became so high profile, people are starting to doubt how valid that is. And there's a case, an ex-boyfriend was trying to break into his ex-girlfriend's house. The father was home, told him to go away, leave him alone. The guy kept like literally kicking and ramming on the door to break the door open to get to her after the father repeatedly said to stop, or he would shoot. And so finally he ended up shooting the guy 3 times. And then the man that was trying to attack his ex-girlfriend passed away. And there's still discussion of, well, why couldn't you have just shot him in the leg? Why could you not? Why do you need a gun? Well, that's overkill. You don't know what this guy was capable of or what he was planning once he got in the house. And he was given ample warning. And there's still people out there saying that is, unacceptable self-defense. So I think that when we think of, well, clearly if somebody's attacking you with a knife, clearly somebody's breaking into your house, you're going to be afraid. There's still a large amount of privileged, comfortable, coddled shut-ins that somehow think life is a movie where you're going to backflip, karate kick a gun out of a guy's hand and then judo chop him and knock him unconscious. In real life, people get killed.
No.
People get killed defending themselves all the time.
Yeah, no, I think it's clear that most of the experts that I've read or seen talk about it say you use, you make a fatal shot. If someone is threatening your very body and existence, you don't shoot them in the leg, because that only pokes the bear. You go for the gold. I don't know. We'll have to see where this all goes, but I think we're in an era where juveniles, they're on social media, they're exposed to so much more. They're just street smart, much quicker, much earlier than I think in earlier generations. They see the violence, they emulate the violence. It's the 24/7 news cycle, I think, indoctrinates them in, sort of normalizes it. Parents need to push back against that. But the reality is, I think we need some tougher juvenile laws and accountability.
Yeah, it's better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6 is how I've heard it described.
Yeah, I got it right. When we come back, we'll talk with Nick Schroer about the upcoming General Assembly. Senator Schroer, of course, you hear him here on News Talk STL. He'll be pivotal. We'll be back.
Waking up to a brand new heart.
Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows. Mike Ferguson in the Morning, The Vic Porcelli Show, Columbo and Company, Jones and Arps. Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Subscribe and watch News Talk STL.
Looking for a hardware store that treats you like family? Welcome to True Value Schneider's Hardware, your local gem in Old Town St. Peters. For over 100 years, we're proudly serve you St. Charles County, providing everything from lawn and garden supplies to plumbing and electrical. Need a bolt or fastener? We've got you covered. And don't forget, we're a steel dealership. Whether you need sales, parts, or service, ask for Charlie or Jerry when you come in. We're here to help. Call 636-278-4461 or visit us online at truevalue.com/Schneiders.
Tim Jones here for my favorite St. Louis Sports Bar and Grill experience, the go-to spot of Johnny's Hideout. Johnny's Hideout featuring over 40 big screen TVs to watch all the great games this college and NFL season. Awesome food specials every single day that I absolutely love. Bike nights, classic cars on Wednesdays, live music every weekend, and a fantastic time to visit the gorgeous Sunset Patio. Located just 10 minutes from 270 in Gravois, open 7 days a week, 11 a.m. onwards. All the information you need to know at jhideout.com. That's jhideout.com. Johnny's Hideout in High Ridge.
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
Looking for a cruise vacation? Cruise.com is offering its exclusive sale of the year to all listeners to this station. Every major cruise line, including Royal Caribbean, Carnival, Princess, MSC, and more, are on sale now. Call 1-800-507-9264 and book one of these deals while supplies last. Cruises start from as low as $39 per person per day. There isn't a better vacation value to places like Alaska, Europe, the Caribbean, South America, and more. Call one of the largest cruise specialists in the world at 1-800-507-9264. We'll find you a vacation that includes drinks, Wi-Fi, excursions, and more. Call
1-800-HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour at townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Cable news outlets are now more trusted than the big three broadcast networks, and a majority of voters say media bias is getting worse. More details from correspondent Bernie Bennett.
Trust in political and civil institutions is highest for local and state governments and lowest for media and Congress, according to recent polling. Scott Rasmussen, founder of the Rasmussen Reports, tells the Salem Radio Network that Americans have no confidence in the White House press corps.
The entire institution of the White House press corps needs to be just shredded and start over again.
Rasmussen says President-elect Donald Trump should dismiss the current press corps and invite more trusted reporters to the White House. Bernie Bennett, Washington.
Not surprisingly, perhaps, China has come to play a major role in discussions over President-elect Trump's threats to reassert control over the Panama Canal. Military analyst, retired Lieutenant Colonel Robert McGinnis.
The fact is that it's been taken over by Chinese entities aligned with the Communist Chinese Party, and therefore those entities suspiciously might be under the thumbprint of the People's Liberation Army, and therefore it's militarized to a certain degree.
Afghanistan responding to attacks in its eastern province.
A spokesman from the Taliban-run defense ministry said several points were targeted in what he termed retaliatory attacks. Details of casualties in the latest flare-up are unclear. The development comes days after Kabul said 46 people were killed in Pakistani airstrikes inside Afghan territory.
That is a BBC's Anbarasan Natharajan reporting. Pakistan launched an operation last Tuesday to destroy what it called a training facility, killing insurgents in Afghanistan's eastern Patika province. The strikes killed dozens of people, mostly women and children. More from townhall.com.
Life takes a toll on our bodies. No way around it. Whether it's sitting hours on end at your computer or working a physical job, over time your body pays the price. There is, however, an effective way to turn back the clock on pain, Relief Factor. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor helps support your body's response to inflammation. The difference? Instead of masking pain, Relief Factor helps eliminate it for good. And it's 100% drug-free. If the pains that come with living a full life are affecting you, do as so many others have. Turn back the clock on pain with Relief Factor. Their 3-week quick start is just $19.95, less than $1 a day. When you feel good, it's amazing how much more you get out of life. So visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. Try it for only $19.95. While we can't stop aging, we can stop pain. Turn back the clock with Relief Factor.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Senior Memorial. With the average funeral bill being over $9,000, are your loved ones prepared? Call 314-866-8886 or memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
Retirement planning used to be easy. You put in your 40 years with the company, get the gold watch, and life's good, right? Wrong. Randy Tobler here. Planning for retirement today involves balancing critical decisions regarding your investments, pensions, Social Security, and more. That's why I'm urging you to start planning now. It's also why you should connect with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. They bring a combined 100 years of wealth management experience to help you with your retirement plan. You can hear Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert every Saturday morning at 9 during On the Money here on News Talk STL 1019. Their team is ready to help you design your retirement plan with the care and commitment you deserve. Request your complimentary retirement plan consultation today at clearpathinvesting.com or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company, Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T.
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text PREP to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text PREP to 42424. That's PREP to 42424.
Danny Define here, host of the all-new show, The Next Gen, with me, Danny Define. We're going to cover all the hard-hitting topics on this show, from national headlines to things happening right here in St. Louis.
Next Gen with Danny Define, Sunday nights at 8.
Right here on News Talk STL.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer. On News Talk STL. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. Come hang out with Ken Williams and me every Monday through Friday from 9 to 11. But right now, it's back to the Randy Tobler Show on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Well, thank you, Vic. And now we talk with Senator Nick Schroer, of course, 2nd District Senator from the St. Charles County area, and purported to be by Scott Fawn from Missouri Times and This Week in Missouri Politics. And Scott talked with him last week, Nick, and he said that you're going to be a pivotal player in the Senate this year if things are going to get done. So lots of weight on your shoulders, huh?
I guess so, considering what we've been through over the past couple of years. I think, looking at the historical makeup of all of the crap that we've dealt with in the legislature, it looks to have started back in around 2017 when I came into the House. And, every single year it's been a fight in the Senate for a variety of reasons. And, with term limits, I'm not a big fan of term limits, but at least the advantage this year is seeing some of those people that were just butting heads with one another are now termed out. So, talking with good friends and colleagues, Cindy O'Laughlin and Tony Lutkemeyer and the Freedom Caucus and members that aren't members of the Freedom Caucus, we've had the chance to go to the Winter Caucus, and that's been a big issue for me is let's get down to work. Let's get down to arguing about policy and not about personalities.
I think people have been disappointed, Nick, that, with such a strong presence in both the House and the Senate, that things just haven't moved forward like you'd expect them to, given that reality, right? And I guess maybe that logjam, might be broken this year. I noticed that you were in the Missouri Independent along with other senators, and you filed a tax bill to try to maybe put us on a glide path to first a flat tax and then eliminating that. Tell us about the tax policy changes that we may see this year, and at least a start towards eliminating this income tax?
Ultimately, when you look at the very, very, very slow growth that Missouri has had, I think I attribute it to several areas. One of them is the tax reforms that we haven't done. And looking back at the 20 years, I'm writing an editorial right now, basically on this issue of let's start focusing on policy. Let's start actually getting something done. These campaign promises like tax cuts or tax reform. This is something that even Catherine Hanaway's been doing, trying to get rid of personal property tax, income tax. And it just seems that Republicans keep getting in the way of one another. And we slowly have started chipping away at things like the income tax. When I was in the House, I had a bill to stop or to get rid of the floor. Every year when we have growth in the budget, this will trigger different cuts in the income tax, but there's a floor in the current law. So removing that would be key to taking us to zero. It had some traction in the House, but like many things, it died in the Senate when I was in the House. And this is a new approach. We've got several different legislators involved in the Senate and the House. I've had a great conversation with several of them, actually, with Governor-elect Mike Kehoe, who wants to get rid of the income tax. He sees states that are competing with us that have been able to get rid of the income tax, attracting more business, attracting more growth, and attracting just the type of people that we want here. And, ultimately, like you said, this is going to take us to a 4% flat tax, and then with some triggers, ultimately take us to zero. And that's what we need to start doing, is thinking outside of the box. And I've told many of the legislators that were involved in this group, we've worked with the Show Me Institute and other think tanks on getting rid of the income tax without harming other areas, like we've seen in Kansas, where they tried to cut taxes, but they didn't cut spending, and that resulted in mass chaos. So these are things that we're going to have to consider, and I think we've got states right next to us that have done it the wrong way. We've got states right next to us that have done it the right way. And ultimately, if we can start attracting more business, more growth within our state, it's going to be an overall boom for the general revenue.
Yeah, it's just frustrating that we can't get some movement on that and maybe start to look at those states like Tennessee, Florida, Texas that are doing it differently and have so much success. We're talking with Nick Schroer. You hear him here on News Talk STL, Stand Up and Fight, every Sunday evening from 6 to 8. Your calls are welcome, 314-912-1019.
Hey, it's producer Jerome just chiming in real quick. Obviously, we've just gone through an extreme, what's being called a red tsunami across the nation. And a lot of that has been focusing around Missouri politics as well, as we see a lot of transitions going on. How optimistic are you that we're on the right track to see a more conservative government within Missouri specifically? And what more should be done to really solidify conservative values in the state of Missouri?
Well, I think we're definitely on the right track of seeing a more conservative or even more conservatarian government. You can just look at some of the issues, fiscal issues, where we're electing strong conservatives that are now, trying to get rid of the income tax, get rid of the personal property tax, get rid of the real estate tax. And this is I call them conservatarians. We're very fiscally conservative, but when it comes to social issues, it's just leave me the hell alone. And we've seen that across America. The talks of Vivek and Elon with Doge trying to limit government to just get the hell out of your life. I think that's a big mindset of most Americans right now. We've seen since COVID, the government just increasing and creeping into your life and telling you what you have to wear, what you have to put in your body, what you can do, what you can say on social media. And I think we're at least in the state of Missouri, creeping to a even redder electorate or legislature that the electorate has chosen. And, I think with the next election coming up in 2 years, there are a lot of different legislators that are going to be terming out. And we're already seeing people popping their heads up saying, well, I'd like to run for this. I would like to run for this. And it seems like their talking points are Freedom Caucus talking points, which just so happens to coincide with the Republican Party platform. But yeah, ultimately, this is going to be a test for the Missouri Republicans. Is can we get our act together and start doing these things that the people want to see? They want to see a safer St. Louis city. which has just been decimated with violent crime and business fleeing into areas like St. Charles County, but most of that business is leaving the state of Missouri as a whole. We've got to do something with our horrific tax system. We're losing a lot of businesses and people to, like Randy said, to Nashville, Tennessee, to Austin, Texas, to Florida, as they are a more free, economically free populace out there. So, yeah, I think ultimately leadership coming in has a big job to get the things done that we as a Republican Party haven't been able to for the past 20 years.
So, Nick, let's talk about another policy area that I think has left many frustrated, and that is education. We see the success that other states like Arizona, Pennsylvania, others have had with Iowa. I mean, Governor Reynolds, up there really did a great job leading a revolution in, letting people just pretty much decide where they want to send their kids or not, homeschooling, whatever. Right. I know that we expanded the charter schools for various jurisdictions. Columbia can have a charter school. It was very, very parochial that way. What's the chance of really having some movement towards vouchers, towards keep your own money, spend it where you want to for your kids?
Well, this is an area I am very optimistic. In dealing with politics, I'm really not optimistic with anything, and it's kind of a wait and see approach. But with education reform, this is an area that I've long spoke with Governor-elect Kehoe on. He and I come from roughly the same area growing up. I grew up in Ferguson. He grew up in Baden. Both of us have seen the horrific government schools that have been designated to you by your zip codes in those areas. I was ultimately the first member of my family to get out of that government school system. My parents had to work extra hours to get me into private schools. And ultimately, I was the first member of my family to go to college and then go to law school and put my name on the ballot. And here we are today. I think every single kid in our state should have that opportunity. And I filed an approach, started a couple years ago when I was in the House, to give tax credits to the parents who were able to, pull their kid out of that system and either homeschool them, put them in private school, put them in a hybrid. But I don't think that they should be handcuffed by still paying for these government schools and having no other option but keeping their kid there. So since that time in the House, Oklahoma has passed that version. There's several other states that have passed a tax credit allocation. We've got other schools that are doing the voucher system. But yeah, let's think outside of the box to give the best opportunities for our kids these days when it comes to education. We've seen horrific stories of boys and women's locker rooms in government schools, or the brainwashing when it comes to woke ideology. And ultimately, the way that you get rid of that is the free market. And like you said, we've got Iowa, Arkansas, all of these states around us that are a more free populace when it comes to education reform. And Governor Kehoe and I have discussed that is a top tier issue for the Senate Freedom Caucus, for the governor coming in. So I'm very hopeful that we're at least going to start moving in the right direction rather than tiptoeing in the right direction like we have in the past couple of years.
And you have to be optimistic, because I know that's a big agenda item for Cindy O'Loughlin too.
It is. That's something that we've discussed when she was just a donor. She was a small business owner and a donor. She supported myself and many others that are now in the Senate. So yeah, we went from a time when I got into the Missouri House that the Senate was a place that education reform would die, and it's kind of changed a little bit. And somebody who played a key role this year on a key education reform bill was Governor Kehoe and Cindy O'Loughlin. So now that they have been elevated to different positions, we will definitely see if this is going to be the year we can actually get something done impactful for all Americans with education.
Nick, before we let you go, a story that we covered last segment about these juveniles that were shot. They approached a guy with what appeared to be guns. We don't know whether they're BB guns or regular pistols, but they approached a 25-year-old guy down in Houston, and he shot them. One of them's in the ICU. I know you do family law and defense law. What is the current law in Missouri regarding accountability of parents for the behavior of their children? I remember in St. Louis County, I thought there was a law when we were raising the kids there that if you provide a party for them and they're drinking, that and then they go out and get in trouble, that you can get in trouble. I know maybe that's a hazy memory. But what's the general landscape of parental accountability for juvenile behavior in Missouri?
Well, just to clarify, I haven't done, and it's probably been better off for my mental health. I haven't done family law for a number of years, but yeah, you are right. I was practicing in that area and criminal law for several years. But yeah, I think there is some vicarious liability when it comes to parents. It's just a matter of, is the juvenile office going to hold these kids accountable? And in the city of St. Louis, we've actually seen over the past couple of years a redrafting of the criminal code. This is before my time. And they went more to a point system, to where if a kid goes and steals a gun, then he steals a car, then he holds somebody up with a fake gun or a stolen gun. A lot of these juvenile officers are only going to try to charge them with one of those crimes pursuant to this new point system allocation, which ultimately says, no, we don't have enough reason to hold you overnight. So we're going to return you back to your parents who are, maybe a single mom who's not able to stay at home and watch over her kids, or sometimes parents that don't care. So there has been a good push over the past couple of years since I've been in the Senate. We've gotten some bills done that are moving more towards looking at all of the crimes as a whole, looking at past criminal behavior to get these kids in the juvenile justice system, a system that has been recognized by many other states as fixing these kids and put them back on the right track to be great Americans rather than career criminals. A couple other bills that we're going to be dealing with in judiciary this year, whether I become the chairman or am the vice chairman, that's going to be something that I've discussed with law enforcement, members of the municipal league, and local officials all over that are seeing these kids just return home, and they're committing the same crimes night in, night out. So, yeah, when it comes to public safety, that's another area. If we're going to move in the right direction as a state, healthcare reform, education reform, regulatory reform, but crime and public safety, that's going to be key as well.
Yeah, I know. I've talked with Andrew Bailey about that, AG Bailey, about how we do need to probably toughen our juvenile laws, because these kids are street smart earlier than I think I was in my generation, maybe you and yours, and that's just a reality. So you got to treat them a little differently if they're learning how not to act earlier in their life. Well, what's on the show tomorrow on Stand Up and Fight, Nick?
Well, we actually did a really good job of bringing a conservative team that has insight into Missouri politics, national politics. When I filled in for the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show, we had an interview with Cliff Maloney, who is CEO of the Citizens Alliance. He created the Pennsylvania Chase, and ultimately has been honored by basically everyone for bringing door knockers in and convincing a lot of Republicans and moderates in the state of Pennsylvania to vote for Donald Trump and get him across the finish line. So we're re-airing some of the stuff that we discussed on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show, the interview with Cliff Maloney, interview with Rick Breton, the head of the Freedom Caucus, and discussing some of these issues you and I just talked about. Senator-elect Adam Schnelting, and the guy he's replacing, Bill Eigel. These are all interviews that we're going to be airing on Stand and Fight tomorrow between 6 and 8 p.m.
All right. Sounds like a good listen. I'll make sure and tune it in. Hey, thanks for spending some time with us, and rest up, because it's going to be a wild and woolly session here in just a few weeks. Thanks, Nick.
Will be. Have a blessed New Year. Thank you.
All right. You too. Take care. There he is, Nick Schroer, and he's going to be a mover and a shaker in the Senate, and we're pleased and privileged to have him here on News Talk STL and the team to bring you those insights from what's going on there in the sausage making that is the General Assembly. Is happiness gap between conservatives and liberals a reality? Getting wider? Narrowing? We'll talk about that when we come back. Arthur Brooks has some ideas about that. Stay tuned for more on the Tobler Show. Virginia Kruta at 7:45 and Tim Jones at 8:05. Lots more here on News Talk STL 101.9 94.1.
Down to the doctor, make you feel good all night.
Number one for live and local
conservative talk.
I've been a registered Democrat for 28 years. I'm really glad you're talking about this.
You gotta love these idiots out here. They think we're all stupid, I guess.
news, analysis, opinion.
Totally agree on that.
I disagree with you.
It's over.
Very upset.
Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for taking my call. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Wanted to ask you really quick. Is there room on the bandwagon for me?
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Attention food lovers. Craving authentic kosher cuisine? Head to Nate's Kosher Deli in the heart of Creve Coeur's culinary scene. Formerly Cones, Nate's is now under new ownership, offering an even greater selection of kosher items, from mouth-watering sandwiches to gourmet meats and fresh baked goods. There's something for everyone. Call 314-333-6283 or visit NatesKosherDeli.com. Experience the difference at Nate's Kosher Deli today. And don't forget to mention News Talk STL sent you.
Tony Colombo here for the cleaning pros at Zero Res, the team we trust with keeping our home clean and healthy. And the folks at Zero Res know how important it is to you to have a clean, healthy home this holiday season. And that's why they have this great offer for you right now. Book a cleaning with Zero Res and mention the Colombo special, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129. Plus, you can take $75 off an air duct cleaning. Again, just mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020 or when you book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
Hi, I'm Helene Tobler, culinary nutritionist at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Here we do practical wellness. Dr. Randy and I have a common sense approach to healthcare. My passion is helping our members enjoy better nutrition because food is medicine. We approach problems with a lifestyle foundation and cutting-edge medical tool chest. At Body of Health, it's about being your healthiest you. If you want to experience healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Need reliable auto service from people you can trust? Look no further than Western Tire and Auto. For over 15 years, we've been your complete automotive repair center, family-owned and operated, with owner Dean Kleethermes bringing 30 years of industry experience. At Western Tire and Auto, you're not just a customer, you're family. We promise 100% satisfaction, treating you with the transparency, respect, and honesty you deserve. Visit us in St. Peters or in Florissant. For appointments, call or check westerntireauto.com. Western Tire and Auto, your local automotive experts since 2008.
Hey folks, Tim Jones here with Eric from Newstetter's Fine Jewelers. Eric, Newstetter's not one of those giant, big, sterile, big box stores, is it?
Nope. Newstetter's Fine Jewelry is a family-owned local tradition since the 60s. We're a full-service jeweler that does on-site repair as well as custom creations and one-of-a-kind pieces you will see nowhere else. We don't sell jewelry. We sit and listen to find out exactly what you truly desire in fine jewelry and give you an education so you'll fall in love with your piece for a lifetime. Don't let fine and fine jewelry confuse you. We have pieces starting at $100 that will keep your loved one happy for a lifetime and look like you spent thousands. We also have a wish list to ensure your loved one gets exactly what they want, and we're also bringing back a layaway program to make your life easier. Newstetter's is a true jeweler.
I can personally attest to that. Newstetter's Fine Jewelers at wowdiamonds.com. That's Newstetter's Fine Jewelers, wowdiamonds.com.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, producer and Thunder Stealer for the Vic Porcelli Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 a.m. on News Talk STL. But right now, let's get back to Randy Tobler Show on News Talk STL.
Well, we want to talk about an issue that I think is interesting, and that is the gap between the conservative and the liberal mindset and happiness, joy, fulfillment. Harvard professor Arthur Brooks, who's written a lot on attaining happiness and what's it about, tends to be, I think, a little right-leaning in most of his stuff. He had some pretty, he was on a podcast the other day, I caught a little bit of it. Here's a clip from that, and it's some pretty astounding statistics. I wonder if this is what he says is what you're finding in your interactions with friends and associates and colleagues. Listen.
10 years ago, you wrote, conservative women seem to be particularly blissful. About 40% say they're very happy. That makes them slightly happier than conservative men and significantly happier than liberal women.
Yeah.
The unhappiest of all are liberal men. Only about a fifth consider themselves very happy.
That was true 10 years ago. Liberal women have overtaken liberal men as the unhappiest group. You find that particularly young women, very interesting new data show that white liberal women under 30 have almost a 6 in 10 chance of having been diagnosed with a mental illness in America today. It's a really big problem. And there's lots of speculation on what that has to do with politics, what has to do with race, what has to do with age, et cetera, et cetera. But what you find is that this is a group that's really, really struggling. And it's a pity because it's not good for them. It's not good for society. And that's what we see. So I don't think that being a political conservative is a panacea for being a happy person, but we see disproportionately these happiness and unhappiness effects in different parts of the population for sure.
Yep.
So that's interesting. Liberal white women under 30 are the most unhappy, now outpacing liberal men. And, it's fun to speculate on what the cause may be. We'll have to ask Virginia about that when she joins us in a little bit, because she's a very happy person, but she's conservative, of course. Do you think it has something to do with social media and aspiring to be something perfect that you just can't be, or what?
I personally think it's because they have to deal with liberal men, so that makes them even more unhappy. Well, we get to deal with conservatives, so we're chipper and joyful. No, I think that could be definitely a big thing. And again, I can only really reference what my experiences going through the K-12 education system were, but a lot of the way that history is taught, social studies is taught, and sometimes even literature classes, it instills a sense of some sort of like white guilt, right? So if you're a Black liberal or a Hispanic liberal, you get to be taught about how much you overcame, about, you were oppressed, and now, you're empowered, you're beautiful, you're great. But if you're the white child, then it's, well, your ancestors were the ones doing all the bad things, and so you should feel bad about it. And so I think that, and then again, there's overdiagnosis with mental medications, psychiatric medication. It could be something where, maybe they are just more sensitive. We see a rise in certain, like autistic spectrum disorder. One of the things that comes with that is being a little bit more sensitive. So there's a number of factors in it. But again, at the end of the day, I think that if you have a strong community, if you have strong-willed parents, you got people that are constantly boosting your self-esteem and making you feel better about yourself at a younger age, you don't internalize as much of that. And I think that's why liberals, like, they're all about the DEI, the wokeness, the inclusion, all that kind of stuff, is because at some point in their life, they were conditioned to internalize a sort of guilt that they probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And again, our food's not helping by any means either.
That's an interesting take. So more of a sociological take. I wonder if it has something to do with just the expectations that women put on themselves. They tend to be multitaskers and proud of that and good at it, whereas men, maybe generally not as good, tend to be more focused, get the mission done, whatever it takes, get the mission done, rather than 5 or 6 different tasks going on at the same time. And women, I think, with the feminist movement, have been told that you need to be a super mom, a super wife, a super worker, a super school supporter, a super philanthropist, and there's just not enough time and resources and energy to do everything. And I think that could lead to a bit of for a different reason, a little bit of guilt, maybe, like, oh man, I'm just not doing everything that society tells me I should be doing.
Well, I mean, I guess it could be a chicken and the egg. Are they miserable because they're liberals, or are they liberal because they're miserable? Because I have to assume, conservative women probably have a lot of the same societal expectations. I mean, conservatives are all about, family structure, having roles in life, having a lot in life, and taking care of business. So I can't imagine that there's something unique about the liberal female expectation or experience when it comes to societal expectations that conservative women also don't have to go through. And again, that's why I think, if you look at liberal men versus conservative men want to be the providers, they want to be the caretakers, they want to be strong, they want to work hard, put the time in, be a family man, and liberal men just don't have those values. And it's like, well, I don't think any conservative men out there want a liberal wife. I mean, there might be a few, but it could just come down to what they're stuck with and the box they put themselves in, but who knows?
I think it's interesting. And, I've always been fascinated, Jerome, about when you look at the protests, whether they're pro-life protests or, pro-abortion protest, the pro-Gaza protest, various things. You see a lot of the liberal men in those protests. You wonder, like, dude, don't you have a job? But aren't you working? What are you out protesting at 2 p.m? And I don't see a lot of conservative men doing that. They're either advocating with their legislature, they're writing with their legislator, they're writing they're writing letters to whoever decision maker. They're out there organizing a group to get together and make some change, inventing a new mousetrap, improving on an old mousetrap. But you often see a lot of these soft, liberal men in the protests, and in general, you don't see the same magnitude and the same number of people in the protests on the right. You just don't see that.
Yeah, that just kind of awoken a thought in me. So when you consider the differences between the types of actions and groups that each side sort of joins, just like you said, the conservative, right wing, libertarian, maybe even more moderate or centrist focused person, they probably go to church groups, they probably go to club groups, they probably have a different support structure or different community of people that they actually engage with, which is we know is good for socializing in general. It's just good for your mental health. And if you look at the further left side of people, it's a lot of really angry, disgruntled people that, if you listen to the rhetoric again from people my age, it's, oh, well, everything's stacked against us. We have no hope for the future. Everything is about taking our rights away, and it's none of it's our fault. So maybe it's the type of people they're surrounding themselves with, and the approach. If you go to a pro Gaza protest, it's going to be a lot of people that are just completely wackos. And if you go towards the anti-Gaza, whatever the case may be, it's going to be people that can actually form an actual argument or sentiment about what should be done about the war, besides just free Palestine from the river to the sea, all that nonsense.
I for one think that we need to certainly recognize that there are people in those movements that it has become almost a religion to them. And so, like you mentioned, conservative men will tend to maybe go to a men's Bible study. Women will do the same thing, a small group in people's homes, that kind of a thing. But the religion that usually revolves around policy, whether it's abortion policy, whether it is, the foreign policy, climate change, it's almost that is the liberal religion, and it's almost like they're Don Quixote. They're fighting things that they really can't control very much, which I guess leads to a sense of hopelessness at some level. I mean, you're not gonna really change the climate change equation by not heating your food and just eating cold food anymore, or putting a windmill in your backyard. You're not going to make a difference that way. Yeah, and I guess maybe there's a frustration there that gets expressed as unhappiness. But I thought it was fascinating. And you talk about mental illness, whether liberal or conservative, we have got a mental illness crisis in this country like I've never seen. I mean, people going on and asking for these serotonin agents that the Prozacs, the Previcids of the Prozac of the world, the Wellbutrins, and on and on and on. I will tell you that we now know that a lot of this has to do, you mentioned it briefly, has to do with our diet. As we mess up our gut microbiome, there's a lot of hormonal and neurological two-way street that's being disrupted between our gut and our brain. And I think it has a lot to do with that. Our SAD diet, the standard American diet, SAD, is not good in any way, shape, or form, physiologically or psychiatrically. I mean, it's just not good for us. We've got to turn that around. I'm excited that RFK is on that. I mean, he's all over it, and I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this before, but my real hope deep down is that RFK gets in there and he just annoys all of the scientists so much that they just become resentful, and they're like, you know what? You don't want to believe this, or you don't want to see this. We're going to do the most comprehensive studies you've ever seen just to get you to shut up. And in doing so, it'll make it harder for these companies to falsify data, to bribe scientists, and stuff like that. And I really do think that the more I've listened to his speeches, even going back before this presidential cycle, he really truly does care. He really truly seems to have this innate desire to make Americans better people, to make them healthier, to help just to stop this what is essentially a poisoning of our food, of our ecosystem, of our water supply, for the sake of profits. And I respect that.
That said, he's getting it wrong when it comes to vaccines. at least the standard vaccines like the diphtheria vaccine, the diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus vaccine. We are seeing now 1,000% increases in number of pertussis cases, whooping cough cases, especially in those first couple months of life. That can be devastating. Those kids can have just profound impact on their lives. And, these old-fashioned vaccines that are dead vaccines, on occasion they're inactivated live vaccines. But, I think he maybe gets unfairly pinned with being totally anti-vaccine. I think he's clarified that to some extent. But I'm really worried about the uptick we're seeing. The CDC has said we've gone from dozens and dozens of cases of pertussis to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases, and those are that process is addressable with antibiotics. But very often, things get very grave before the antibiotics are administered and the diagnosis is made. So I think he's going to have to probably moderate a little bit on that if he really wants to have an overall global view of our health, to protect things where it's common sense, tried and true vaccine policy and recommendations. And on the other hand, working with the USDA, he's got to do that. You got to work with the USDA and the FDA to get some common sense in our food supply. It's a toxic mix of harmful food that is at the same time addictive. It doesn't get any worse than that. And it's got to change. So hopefully he will do that. Hey, what do you say we step aside and talk to Virginia, see what's going on in her world, her predictions for the coming year? Virginia Kruta will join us in just a little bit here on the Tobler Show. And Tim Jones will come up with a look at the year back and a look at the year forward on the national scene. We're going to have to ask him about that H-1B visa rift within the Republican Party as well. So lots coming up on the Tobler Show on News Talk STL 1019 94.1.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer on News Talk STL. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. This is News Talk STL. No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here. Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 1019 94.1 and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Attention, reptile lovers. Ready to discover your next scaly friend? Welcome to the Show Me Reptile Shop, your ultimate destination for fascinating reptiles and exotic pets, with 3 convenient locations in Troy, St. Peters, and Springfield. We have an amazing selection of snakes, lizards, turtles, and more. Whether you're a seasoned herpetologist or a curious beginner, we've got the perfect pet waiting for you. Show Me Reptile Shop. Visit us in Troy, St. Peters, or Springfield, and online at showmereptileshow.com.
Larry Connors here, and I'm heading to southern Italy for a tour of the most beautiful coastline in the world, the Amalfi Coast. I want you to join me. We'll travel for 11 magical days with professionals from Conservative Tours. They're the best tour operators in Italy. Conservative Tours, an A+ rating with the BBB. $54.88 is your cost. That includes airfare from St. Louis, luxury hotels, dining events you'll remember for years. Call 888-733-9494 or go to conservativetours.com. Join me next spring in Italy on the Isle of Capri, just $54.88, including airfare from St. Louis. 888-733-9494 or go to conservativetours.com.
For over half a century, Joe Bacardi's has been serving up a little taste of Italy right here in St. Louis. Family owned since 1971, we're more than just a restaurant. We're a local landmark. With 4 convenient locations, we offer something for everyone, from our famous pizzas to mouth-watering entrees and delicious salads. Dine in with a glass of wine or grab a quick carryout. Whether it's dinner for 2 or catering for a crowd, Joe Bacardi's has you covered. Visit joebacardis.com and join our loyalty program. Joe Bacardi's, where every meal ends with buon appetito.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor. Congratulations to the awesome team at Connor Roofing for earning the 2024 National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction. Connor Roofing has now won back-to-back honors because they do outstanding work in all types of roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. We chose Connor Roofing without telling the owners, Rob and Kathy Connor. Their customer reviews are some of the best in the country. Please read them. Visit ConnorRoofing.com and request an estimate. Connor Roofing, you can count on Connor.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
It's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show, and you are listening to Randy Tobler right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Why? Because you're awesome.
Welcome back into the program. We're having a time getting in touch with Virginia, but I wanted to ask her about this if we do get in touch with her, but I want you to hear this. J.D. Vance did a Christmas message, a little bit unorthodox, a little atypical. But he started out with just a very amateur production quality, which I found appealing. And it starts out with just he and his little daughter, I think Michaela is her name, one of his kids, and they're there in the kitchen and they're going to make some biscuits. Listen to the beginning of this.
Today, we are going to learn to make biscuits because I feel like biscuit making is a lost art. And I think that every American family should have a good biscuit on their table during Christmas dinner.
Okay, so he goes through and really goes into great depth about grating the butter on a cheese grater and really mixing it up so it's just the right consistency, the dough, and cutting them out. And it's about a 3 or 4 minute video. And then at the end, he pops the biscuits out of the oven. And here's the end of this clip and his little Merry Christmas wish for us all.
I've got the oven at 425. We're going to pop these bad boys in the oven for about, call it 16, 17 minutes until they're golden brown on the top. So we will check back in when they're done. Here are our biscuits. Like I said, the first ones we cut are a lot better looking. These are the ones that we cut first, and these are the ones we cut second. We're about ready to open presents. Can we all say Merry Christmas? Merry Christmas!
So I found this heartwarming. He's in his T-shirt, and it looks like his hair is a little disheveled, and he's just sort of just being a regular dad making biscuits. And Virginia Kruta is with us now. Virginia, I don't know if you saw the pushback on that J.D. Vance Christmas message about the biscuits. It was so heartwarming. And then I started reading down into the comments, and there was so much hate. And it was like, well, he's the second in command of the free world, and he should be in a suit making a Christmas. I couldn't believe the hate for what was a very innocent little Christmas post. Did you see that?
No, I didn't, but I kind of tuned out for a couple of days. But I'm not at all surprised. I mean, they're going to find something to complain about. There's always going to be something.
I just thought it was amazing. I mean, people are,
Yeah, that it.
People.
I don't think I could say that better.
Yeah. So I hope you guys had a good Christmas at your house, and everyone got what they wanted from Santa. No lumps of coal in the stocking. I once again came up with more coal in the stocking. I could keep the coal-fired plants in China going for the rest of the century with the coal I've accumulated over the years. But what if we look back at the year past, Virginia, culturally, what would you say were the pivotal, important milestones of 2024 that really were sort of transformational?
Really, I think, honestly, the trans issue has been huge. I think that people are waking up to just how insane it is that we're being asked to not only accommodate, but participate in a delusion, essentially. And the more people are put out by that participation, like the more that it impacts them personally, I guess. the more they realize this is not a direction we want to go as a country.
Uh-huh.
And so I think
Well,
that
isn't
was
it
a
fair
big
to
one.
Yeah, and we've seen some shifts among Democrats. There was a state representative in Florida who has abandoned the Democrat Party and turned Republican. That big donor, well, she's a big donor and a bundler basically for the Dems, Lindy Lee. She's given up on it. She's like, you guys are going crazy. Now, at the same time, we got Jen Psaki that's disappointed that AOC is not going to be a chairman.
Lindy Lee did not abandon this until the Democrats had already lost. She was all in until they lost,
right?
Until Kamala lost the election. So I think that's important. But also, I mean, you saw people like Seth Moulton. He's a Democrat who, from Massachusetts, maybe, Democrat representative who said, this is not a popular position in my party, but, and then I don't want my girls having to compete with men in the sports arena. And so I think that was a big one. I also think that the impact of illegal immigration was underestimated by the left. Well, actually, no, I don't know that the impact was underestimated by the left. It was underestimated as to how regular people would respond to the impact. Because obviously, regular American people do not like being told that, yes, some of these illegal immigrants are going to come into your communities and commit crimes, and we're just not going to do anything about that, which is basically what they were told when the Democrats kept the border open. And then one refused to see it as a crisis. And then when they did see it as a crisis, tried to blame people who weren't in charge.
Well, so, on that immigration policy issue, I'm sure you've been watching this H-1B visa flap where Ramaswamy is denigrating American culture, saying we need to have more science competitions and fewer prom queens and more basically just denigrating, sort of less chillin' and on and on. And he says we need to bring in more H-1B tech engineers. The MAGA team, led by Laura Loomer and others, saying no. Trump wanted to limit immigration, get those jobs for Americans. Well, what's your reaction?
First off, I think you're losing ground the minute you quote Laura Loomer, but that's a different story entirely. But here's I think that two truths are possible at the same time. And I realize people have a difficulty with this. I think you can believe, one, it is good for America to bring in talented people who can innovate and build things in America. Because here's the thing, if you bring in the next great tech entrepreneur and they build a company in America, they're going to hire some Americans. And they're going to build a company that makes money in America. If you don't bring them in, they build a company that makes money somewhere else. So that's I think you can believe that it's good to import the best and the brightest, and also believe that the current H-1B system is grotesquely abused.
It is, but what do you say to those?
I don't think it's bad.
What do you?
Well, and Trump even said, "Look, we want to bring people in who will build things here."
I get that, but what about the people that are saying, "Look, this is just a play to get cheaper labor." In this case, it's intellectual and white collar labor, but it's just displacing Americans that should be getting paid more to do that. Now, I guess there's an argument to be made that, hey, the market's the market, and we can't artificially prop up.
Here's the thing: if you are an American student and you go and you put, and part of the problem is the college scam, where you're paying through the nose for half the education. The idea that because of the way college loans work and the fact that most college students leave American universities with massive debt, like ridiculous debt.
True.
It's because of the way the federal loan system works and the college tuition system works. And so you get American college students who graduate in tech fields with bachelor's degrees. They are only qualified to work entry-level jobs at these tech companies, and they don't want to do it for what the tech companies are paying. So are the tech companies paying not enough? Are the American students in too much debt? Whatever the issue is, they're not taking the jobs. Well, the tech company still has to fill the jobs, and that's where the H-1B visa thing comes in. And so they're saying they're taking jobs from Americans, and the reality is the Americans are refusing the jobs, and they've got to fill them somehow. So there are multiple. Nicole Shanahan, who was originally on the Robert F. Kennedy's ticket and is in the tech field, actually wrote a really comprehensive thread on this on X the other day. So if you want to see some more details, go look her up. But she was explaining that, hey, this is part of this problem. The problem is that American students are graduating with debt, and they don't see this as a viable option to go into these entry-level positions. The problem is they're not qualified for anything higher up. And so you have multiple problems working at once. You have Americans who don't want to take a job that they think is beneath them. You have a job that needs to be filled. And so you have American companies looking outside of the United States to fill the job because that's the only place they can find qualified people who are willing to take what they're paying. But again,
no, I think you're right. I mean,
part of the problem is an abuse of the H-1B visa system, because maybe they should be, instead of using the H-1B visas, increasing their wages to match what everybody else is doing.
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt that the expectations of college graduates is much different than it was in my generation. It was, you had the expectation for delayed gratification.
Well, look at kids who barely finish high school or who don't finish high school. They're expecting to make a living wage at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Like,
it's that entitlement mentality.
Well, so I think that again, there are multiple things that are true at once. Vivek Ramaswamy is right that the culture plays a role, because that's why you have this entitlement mentality. Like, I should be able to make enough to pay off my student loans in 3 years, or I should be able to, pay for 3 kids with a fast food job, or so that's a problem. Then you have fewer Americans graduating with tech degrees in the first place, because they're offering degrees in things like intersectional feminism and whatever. And so you have people going to get degrees like that, and then why can't I get a job? Well, because you didn't learn anything. Well, and then you have other countries that are educating their people with the express goal of going to the United States. Because regardless of what anybody else thinks, we still have a country that is so good that everybody wants to come here. And we have to understand that. So if you give them more incentives, of course they're going to be like, how can I play this system?
Yeah. Well, I think it's an interesting discussion. We'll be following it. Thank you for being with us all this past year. We look forward to being with you the next year. And the best to you in the new year, Virginia Kruta.
Same to you.
All right. Thank you. Hey, we're going to go out with a song that I think tickled all of us. It was a lot of fun as we wrap it up for this hour. Tim Jones coming up next hour. Stay tuned.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
Speaking to former U.S. Senator Jim Talent,
has the Trump transition team contacted you?
I've had a couple of people in the transition, not formally, just talk to me, and there's some pretty good advisory roles, which I did in the first Trump administration. I think they have a good list of younger people. I'm 10 years younger than Trump. I don't have his energy.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
I'm so tired of my water smelling like rotten eggs. Ironbound. It makes my clothes and home smell, and my sink and faucet look dirty. I'm calling Jones Air and Water Treatment for their solution to this pollution.
Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to your pollution. Call now for your free water analysis at 636-899-1040 and live with clean, great-tasting water. That's 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
Dive into adventure with Great American Divers. We're your local veteran-owned scuba center offering PADI certification courses, equipment repairs, and dive travel opportunities. From beginners to experts, we got you covered. Kids can join our SEAL Team classes, and we even host pool parties. Our experienced staff is passionate about teaching, and we're the only center in the area with our own indoor heated pool. Great American Divers on Central School Road in St. Charles. Visit greatamericandivers.com. Great American Divers, where adventure runs deep.
Hey, Tony Colombo here with Tim Jones for our friends Rodney and Jen Wallner, the Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway, the #1 home selling team in the St. Louis area. And I can say that from firsthand experience. My wife and I were blown away from the results that we saw from working with Rodney and Jen, from selling our old home faster and for more money than we thought possible to finding our family's perfect new home. They over-delivered every step of the way. And right now, it's still very much a seller's market. So, Tim, for folks that have been thinking about selling their home, it's a perfect time to call the Wallners.
That's right, Tony. And don't forget, they're licensed in both Missouri and Illinois. So no matter where you are in the metro area, you can put St. Louis's #1 home selling team to work for you. The Wallners' experience and work ethic, second to none. And of course, the numbers speak for themselves. The Wallners sell 15 times more homes per year than the typical realtor. Right now, they're working with so many qualified buyers, they'll guarantee to obtain you an offer. If you've been thinking about selling your home, don't wait. Call the Wallners now at 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD for the Wallner home selling team. Tim Jones here for my favorite St. Louis sports bar and grill experience, the go-to spot of Johnny's Hideout. Johnny's Hideout featuring over 40 big screen TVs to watch all the great games this college and NFL season. Awesome food specials every single day that I absolutely love. Bike nights, classic cars on Wednesdays, live music every weekend, and a fantastic time to visit the gorgeous Sunset Patio. Located just 10 minutes from 270 and Gravway, open 7 days a week, 11 a.m. onwards. All the information you need to know at
270 BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour at townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Military analyst, retired Lieutenant Colonel Bob McGinnis says President-elect Donald Trump has good reason to seek greater control over the Panama Canal.
The fact is that it's been taken over by Chinese entities.
That control, he says, is well concealed.
That doesn't appear on the surface, but we know as the Chinese have helped construct ports throughout Latin America, about 40 of them, that the Chinese communists have great influence throughout the region. And given the criticality and our past control of the Panama Canal, it makes sense that the United States wants to keep it neutral.
Colonel McGinnis was interviewed this week by the Salem Radio Network. Ballotpedia editor-at-large Scott Rasmussen says this election cycle spelled the beginning of the end for trust in the legacy media.
I think this was the election where they lost control of the narrative, and it is going to be a long and difficult process to restore trust.
The latest Rasmussen poll finds cable news outlets now more trusted than the big three broadcast networks, yet a majority of voters say media bias only seems to be getting worse. Senator Tom Cotton says President Biden's selective commutations, for federal death row inmates this week sends a cruel message to the families of their victims.
So what message does that send to those 37 families and their friends and their fellow police officers who were shot or killed or tortured in cold blood, that your loved one is expendable? Your loved one is not politically inconvenient, so we're going to let his murderer get off.
Cotton says the president showed a political rather than ethical motivation by maintaining the death penalty for the most politically inconvenient killers. More of these stories at townhall.com.
We all hear the radio ads.
If your approach to everyday aches and pains is to mask them, feel better for a few hours only to have the pain return and then repeat the cycle all over again,
it's time to try Relief Factor. And the good news is Relief Factor makes that easy. Their 3-week quick start is just $19.95, less than $1 a day. Instead of masking pain, Relief Factor helps eliminate it. How? Well, its unique formula of ingredients helps support your body's response to inflammation. Relief Factor was developed by doctors. It's 100% drug-free. And for so many people, the results are game-changing, even life-changing. So give it a try. Right now, their 3-week quick start is just $19.95. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. See how in a few weeks or even days, Relief Factor can reduce your pain. When you feel better, life is just better. So don't mask pain. Fight it naturally with Relief Factor.
I've got a way for you to really dress up your home, and only one guy I'd trust to do it. Michael Proctor, like doctor. Michael will personally examine which drapes, blinds, or shutters will complement your home. He doesn't just measure, he designs, and to make sure it's done right, he will install them. All this saves you money on custom-made drapes, shades, and shutters. Proctor, spelled like doctor. ProctorDrapery.com. ProctorDrapery.com.
Hey, it's Vic. Are you worried about rising taxes? Well, you're not alone. With government spending outpacing revenue, many Americans fear a tax hike is on the horizon. But here's the good news. You have options. Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management specializes in tax-efficient strategies for income planning, legacy, and growth. Chris knows your money will go to one of 3 places: the government, healthcare, or your family and charities. Shouldn't your loved ones come first? Don't let Uncle Sam be your biggest beneficiary. Take control of your financial future today. Visit SerenityNowTax.com for your free copy of Chris's book, The New Holistic Retirement. Serenity Wealth Management, because you deserve peace of mind in retirement. Request your free book today at SerenityNowTax.com. That's SerenityNowTax.com to get your free copy of The New Holistic Retirement. That's SerenityNowTax.com. Serenity Now! With Chris Cooper.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors.
You can't get food like this in Paris. Bring the family for breakfast and brunch to Nadine's Hash House, offering home-style cooked meals the way your mother made them. Try the savory Southside Slinger, the cinnamon streusel pancakes, or Nadine's famous hash. Make sure to follow Nadine's Hash House on Facebook for weekly specials. Open today from 7 till 1:30 in Soulard on Broadway. Nadine's Hash House. You can't get food like this in Paris. Nadine'sHashHouse.com.
Need quality firewood for those chilly nights? Anthony's Produce has you covered. We offer seasoned firewood for pickup or delivery, plus a full selection of fresh fruits and vegetables. Visit us at 701 Juggerman Road for locally made jams, jellies, and pickles. Shopping online? Order our beautiful fruit bouquets, chocolate-covered strawberries, and firewood at anthonysproduce.com. Open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. Call 636-936-0496.
This hour, the Randy Tobler Show, brought to you by Advanced Dentistry Now. Doctors Dan Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer. 636-978-0226. Or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com. Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer, on News Talk STL. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. This is News Talk STL.
Look into a little girl's eyes, 9 years old, who had adults take everything innocent and pure from her. You look in those eyes, and those eyes have no life in them. Her life will never be the same. That's what pisses me off, because President Trump had us locked down. He had it locked down. And this administration came in and unlocked it. People die on the border every day. Women are sex trafficked in this country every day. That's why I'm pissed off. And that's why the best day of my life was President Trump getting reelected to save lives. A secure border saves lives. It isn't rocket science.
Well, there's Tom Homan on fire at America Fest, and I know that was one of the pivotal issues of this election cycle this last year. Tim Jones joins us now from the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. every weekday here from 4 to 6 on News Talk STL. And Tim, I think that issue alone certainly was the difference maker above all, maybe even over the economy. I don't know. I want to get your take on the year past and look forward, but Holman's something to behold, isn't he?
He really is, Randy, and thanks for having me. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you and producer Jerome. You guys do such an awesome job every Saturday morning so we can all get a little break for the weekends. We appreciate you. And Randy, you know what I would say? I think the biggest theme from this past year is that reality bites, right? And Americans woke up and responded. Americans responded to the reality of the actual situation at hand. The Democrats, the left, the media, they've been lying to us, not just for the past 4 years, but for the past several decades. And they've been promoting this America last, America in decline. Randy, you remember you and I talked about this way back in the Obama years. He wanted to be the manager of the decline. We were never going to see 3% GDP growth again. Remember? According to Barack Obama. Right. This was going to be the new normal. And you know what? It's okay, little Americans, because the government is here to help. And Randy, people finally, I think, woke up after the COVID fever dream, after the green energy fever dream, after the massive amounts of taxation and spending and near bankrupting of the country with the $36 trillion debt, much less taking away our freedoms and liberties. And they said, enough is enough. And no, we don't want this anymore. It's not good. And Randy, this is what it comes down to. It's a simple philosophical divide. I think a lot of times we get lost, forest for the trees. The left, let me start with them first, the bad news first. The left wants and believes that government should control every single aspect of your life because they can do it better. They believe that there's some magical, mythical, omnipotent, omnipresent, smart people in this country that should run everything in your lives because you can't run it yourself. And then there's the right, who generally believe that less government is better, that America is great because of its people, not because of its gigantic bureaucratic government institutions, and that it's the people of America with our pioneering, forward-looking, exploratory type of invention type of attitude that should be unleashed again to not just campaign slogan, but to make America great again. I think that's what it comes down to. And that's what people voted on in November.
And what I think is interesting, Tim, and the question going forward that I am fascinated by is when you see prominent and sometimes only within the party sort of backgrounders that are, the ones funding the party, they're gathering the big donors. When you see people calling out their own party that way, I wonder what kind of legs that movement within the party is going to have. Take a listen to Lindy Lee. She was on one of these, multi-panel Zooms the other day, and she talked about how when she called out the failure of the Kamala Harris campaign, how she was called a whore and the C word. And then she said this near the end of that little monologue. Listen.
They are calling me a spy for the regime that killed my great-grandfather. Let that soak in just for a second. That's how disgraceful they are. Yeah. And these are the people who call themselves the social justice warriors. They are dabbling. They are going headfirst into racism anytime someone dares to disagree with them. I don't want to be a part of this nonsense anymore.
Tim, it seems like almost like the proverbial Rhett Butler slap in the face to wake the Democrats up. And some of them, unless it's just politically expedient and they need to maintain their, whatever their consultancies are. But I don't know. It seems like there's been an awakening among some of the core Democrats. Is that overplaying it?
No, Randy, Democrats are in disarray. They're in complete disarray. And the only reason why we don't see and hear this clarion call from Ms. Lee every single day is because, Randy, the media is still carrying a lot of the water for the left, right? You can't completely pull back the curtain and show the parade of horribles, right? The grotesquerie in the Circus Maximus, right, that the left has created. You can't completely show it, but they can't hide it either, right? And so every once in a while, you'll have an interview like that. And there's been others, Randy. I did see that one. There's been multiple others. It's not anecdotal anymore. It is, and it goes beyond racism. I know her argument was racism, and she's correct. But Randy, that's just the tool of the Marxism, the Marxist mayhem that Democrats have embraced, right? It's higher. Racism's horrible. It's god awful. It should be condemned. Marxism is an entire way of thinking that you do everything under race. The racism part is one of their tools, right? They can't do the old, and that's all this is. The left has embraced Marxism, communism over the last several years, and they try to hide it. And we have a new form of soft, cuddly socialism. That's really what it is, and it's actually going to work this time. It's never worked, Randy. It's failed. The 20th century, the 20 million people died at the hands of communism and Marxism. It was the world's largest killer because of it. It leads to oppression and it leads to death. And so, in the Marxist toolbox, back in the 1800s, of course, it was the battle between the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. Well, you know, ask anybody in the younger generations what the bourgeoisie is, and good luck spelling it, much less explaining it what it is to you. In the TikTok generation, hey, no offense, sorry, young folks, but and I know a lot of young people, Randy, who have been part of this awakening. Look, they helped propel Donald Trump to victory, and so there's been an awakening in the younger folks as well. And so I'm being a little facetious here, but the modern day Marxism, right, Randy, is what she just said. It's to use racism. It's this color versus that color. And it's also back to class warfare. It's the haves and the have-nots. There always has to be an oppressor and an oppressed. And the Democratic Party, they always used to be lovers of bigger government and more spending and things like that. But they didn't embrace this leftist, Marxist, communist ideology. They never went that far. Well, they have. Over the last few decades, they have. And Barack Obama propelled them there, and Joe Biden took them off the cliff. And suddenly realizing, with people like Ms. Lee there, that this is not their mother and father's, and definitely not their grandfather or grandmother's party. This party has become destructive, and it has decayed itself from the inside out. It's rotten to the core, and it needs to be completely reformed. And so people rejected that. Now, Randy, I'm not going to let the Republican Party off the hook either. They now have to take we often say the cliche in politics is Democrats are the evil party, Republicans are the stupid party. And it's largely true. Republicans have now been handed this mandate. And what are they doing in the early stages? Well, they're going back to fighting with one another, right? And people aren't realizing what the mandate was about. The mandate was not about the country club Republicans from back in the old days and the fat cats and the big corporates and the big banks and the big everythings. It's about the people. Once again, I'll go back to what I said earlier, being able to chart their own destiny, because that's why people come to this country and still love this country and are still risking life and limb to get into this country, because it's the promise that you can fulfill your personal dreams.
We're talking with Tim Jones. You can hear him with Chris Harps every weekday evening from 4 to 6. Tim, talking about that circular firing squad, which the Republicans seem to be just very adept at.
So good.
I'm sure you've caught this H-1B visa flap, and Ramaswamy basically saying, look, there's nothing wrong with American workers IQ wise, but it's a culture problem. He said, quote, a culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. Some in the MAGA core movement are saying, well, yeah, Musk and Ramaswamy and this guy that's been named the AI czar, Krishnan, Sriram Krishnan, that these guys are just self-serving. They're using the Doge and the H-1B visa argument to just self-serve their technological interest, get cheap foreign technology engineers in. What's your reaction to this whole flap?
Well, Randy, I did hear your interview with Virginia Kruta earlier, and I largely agree with Virginia. I think several things can be true at one time. First of all, Elon and Vivek Ramaswamy, they're wanting to bring more Elons and Vivek Ramaswamys in, right? That's what they're thinking. Okay, so how many people really is that? So before everybody gets their complete panties in a ringer, let's realize that these guys are probably talking about minuscule amounts of numbers of people to coming to this country. Now, are there smart people like that here? Yes. And where I would push back. So on one hand, I don't think they're talking about anything that's going to really matter except to make the country better. What if we didn't have Elon Musk here? He's the kind of person he's talking about. He's an immigrant from a different country who is a brilliant individual. We would like more of those here as well. On the other hand, yes, Vivek is right about culture, but he probably left out something he should have also thrown in there because of what he's been tasked to do. Randy, it's also the government's fault. Once again, right? The government has encouraged Americans, hey, why work so hard when there's an easier path over here? Randy, we have built the welfare state up so big and so ridiculously large that you could, if you were to go back in time, you could probably live off the government in 2025 America, what it was to be probably a middle-class income earner back just a few decades ago, right? We've given people the disincentive to work and the incentive to just be on the government dole. You know, Randy, that when people come here from other countries, the highly skilled immigrant class, we often refer to them as some of the hardest working people on the planet. And they're so thankful to have come to America that they want to prove that axiom correct. And so we've made Americans lazy, not just, it is the culture, politics downstream from culture, absolutely. And our culture has got a million problems as well. But the government has also promoted that cultural idea and disincentivized entrepreneurs and innovation and incentivized people just taking from Uncle Sam.
You're right. I mean, I think that the expectations of young people as they enter college and make a career path and then accumulate just massive amounts of debt, they've been promised this golden exit strategy to where when you leave college, you're gonna have that beautiful penthouse C-suite office, and you'll be able to pay back your loans in 3 years. And that's just not the case. I mean, the entitlement thing used to just be a problem with lower socioeconomic issues. Now it seems like everyone's entitled. Everyone's got some. They got their basically their handout. Everyone's panhandling one way or another through this or that special interest group. The question is, though, Tim, how successful will Musk, Ramaswamy, Doge, Trump be in ratcheting back that pervasive welfare state that really, I think, in one way, even corporate welfare is now just gone on steroids. I mean, that's a huge, gargantuan job.
And Randy, it's going to take more than 4 years. I got news for people. Donald Trump can do a lot of great things in the next 2 to 3 years, but then especially that fourth year, what are we going to be doing that fourth year? You and I are going to be talking about 2028 and the campaign cycle, right? And everything's going to grind to a halt once again in DC. So Donald Trump can do a lot of great things in the next 2 to 3 years, but we're going to need a lot more than that because of the devastation that the Biden administration has wreaked on the country. Randy, look at what they've done. Talking about convincing young people that they really don't have to worry. Oh, we're just going to forgive everyone's student loans. Well, who pays for that? All of us, the taxpayers. And what about the blue collar worker who went to a tech school and then started his or her own business up, and they're fixing things for people and making their lives better. And they're looking at this going, wait a minute, I don't want to pay for local yokels, intersectional gentrification, transgender cult study degree. I don't want to pay for that. And so the Biden administration has wrecked us financially. They've wrecked us emotionally. Look at what they just did in commuting these sentences of these murderers and rapists, and just go and read some of the people that Joe Biden has basically released back out into the wilds of the United States of America. It's god awful. What they've done to the border, they've caused an invasion. They've gotten us involved in all sorts of foreign wars. And look at the family itself. They've lied, cheated, stolen, and sold access to the federal government to enrich themselves to the tunes of tens of millions of dollars, and there's going to be zero accountability. He's one of the worst presidents and one of the worst people to ever occupy 1600 Pennsylvania. So we've got a lot of damage to recover from. We can do it. We've been here before in our 50th, the nation being nearly 250 years old. We've endured crises and wars and depressions and civil strife, and we've done it before, but it's going to take a really good second term of Donald Trump, and then it's going to take a couple more terms of people like a J.D. Vance, a Vivek Ramaswamy, and Elon Musk, et cetera, being at the helm.
Yeah, well, no doubt about it. It's a lot of heavy lifting, but many hands make a heavy lifting a lot lighter, and he's recruited some interesting and talented people. We'll have to see where it goes. And I know folks will be listening to you and your analysis every afternoon with Chris here on the station, because it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be disappointing at times, starting with the speaker determination here. Or Mike Johnson may be in trouble. I mean, that's going to be the first battle here in just a couple short weeks.
Randy, there's so many things coming up. January 2nd, 3rd, I think January 3rd, U.S. Congress swears in. So that's January 3rd. That's Friday. That's next Friday. January 8th, the Missouri legislature goes back into session. It's going to be a wild session there, because I think people are ready to rock and roll and get some things done. But of course, we're always going to have some drama up there. The 13th of January, we have the statewide inauguration. Then Donald Trump and J.D. Vance take the oath on Monday, January 20th.
It'll be fun. Hey, Tim, thanks for being with me regularly all throughout this last year. We look forward to our conversations in 25. All the best to you and yours, brother. Thank you.
Randy, really appreciate you, Jerome, and everything you guys do here for us at News Talk STL. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Looking forward to many great Saturday morning conversations in the year ahead.
Me too. Me too. There he is, Tim Jones, every afternoon, 4 to 6 on the Jones and Arp Show on News Talk STL 101.9 94.1. Well, we did dodge a bullet. I was worried that Kamala Harris was going to, somehow that vibe was going to prevail, but it didn't. And we're thankful for that. And in an interview with Sean O'Brien, it really exposed the arrogance of the left. And we'll talk about that when we come back on the Randy Tobler Show. Stay tuned for more.
It should be unleashed, not just campaign slogan, but to make America great again. And that's what people voted on in November.
Buddy, you're a young man, hard man, shouting in the street. You're gonna take on the world someday. You got
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Sometimes it's hard to know what's real and what isn't.
Right here.
The country is heading in the wrong direction under this president. We're suffering shortages. America's running out of everything.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
No.
Is your computer giving you headaches? Make it happy again with Jeff Computers. For 30 years, this locally and family-owned business has been the St. Louis area's trusted one-stop shop for cybersecurity, managed IT, and data recovery services. Choose the experts at Jeff Computers. They offer computer protection plans and can recover your lost or damaged data. Visit them in Ellisville or call 636-256-7901. Online at jeffcomputers.com. And tell them News Talk STL sent you.
Hello, this is Jay with Titan Hill Armory in Washington, Missouri. We are a small family-owned business specializing in firearms and accessories. We buy, sell, and trade and have over 2,000 firearms in our store. We're open Wednesday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Check us out at 1807 East 5th Street or online at TitanHillArmory.com.
Titan Hill Armory, your source for firearms, ammunition, accessories in Washington, Missouri.
Again, that's TitanHillArmory.com.
Ready to soar beyond your limits? The U.S. Air Force and Space Force offer more than just a job. It's a launch pad for your future. With over 200 career paths, competitive pay, benefits, free education, 30 days paid vacation, and a chance to travel the globe, all while serving your country with pride. Your journey starts here. Call Jeremy Jefferson in St. Louis at 314-295-6834 or visit airforce.com and spaceforce.com today.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros, your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. We discovered Gutter Pros a few years ago when we bought our home and inherited a gutter issue that was on the road to becoming a potentially big problem, but thanks to Gutter Pros was stopped before causing any major damage. They've also repaired the siding on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros are also the best for siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros can help your home at gutterpros.com.
We aren't asking you to volunteer for CASA. We're asking you to advocate for
Alex,
Andre,
Ava,
Max,
Olivia, Ciara.
CASA volunteers make a lasting impact in a child's life in only a few volunteer hours a week. As a CASA volunteer, you support a child throughout their experience in foster care, advocating for their needs and ensuring their voice is heard.
Learn more at mocasa.org, paid for by the Missouri CASA Association.
Here's some expert advice from McClary Moving and Storage. If you have a home or business move coming up, you need to book now. Most moving companies are booked 6 to 8 weeks out. So call McGuire now, get an on-site estimate, set a date. McGuire has 85 years of experience and just won the Spire Quality Award. I can personally testify McGuire goes above and beyond to help the clients. McGuire Moving and Storage, McGuireMoving.com.
Even we don't know what he's going to do next.
My name is ivermectin hydroxychloroquine. Hi, Ken. How are you?
Vic Porcelli.
Good morning, trucker.
I'm monoclonal antibodies.
Live and local weekday mornings at 9.
We call him Mo.
On News Talk STL.
This is Larry Connors. Right now, you're listening to Dr. Randy Tobler. Informative, engaging, enjoy. And I invite you to listen to the Larry Connors USA Daily Report, Monday through Friday at 6.
And a great report it is with Larry. Boy, I tell you, there's great programming here on the station. I just love the app. It's a great one. Stable, does a great job no matter where I am. So I hope you catch it on the app or, on the regular desktop, wherever you're at. Keep it here. It's going to be wild and woolly going forward. No doubt about it. But man, I tell you, you look back at the year just passed and you go, holy cow, did we dodge the bullet? Remember when Kamala Harris had some momentum going? There were people that were energized on the other side of the political divide. A lot of us were concerned that they may just actually, with the young people voting, if she could find a way to get them in her camp. And frankly, I think if she would have run a different campaign and maybe made it less about her gender and her race and more about policy, maybe some of those young people that ultimately voted for Trump maybe could have been persuaded. I don't know. But I was appalled, astounded, gobsmackingly amazed at her behavior, at least according to Sean O'Brien, the Teamsters president, when he was talking with Tucker the other night. He relayed, as they were vetting the candidates, what happened. Take a listen to this. This is amazing.
It would kind of look like elderly abuse to me.
Oop, I think the timestamp was wrong on that one. Let's try to fix that one moment.
Well, what he basically said was that they invited the candidates in, and they had like 16 questions for him. And they said RFK answered the questions, Trump answered the questions. When it came to Kamala and her people, they come in. First of all, it was hard to get them to come in and give an audience to the Teamsters, but they finally did. And Kamala, after 3 questions, they basically said, this last one will be your last question, and then they left. You got that? You got it, Jerome?
No, basically, because I was doing interviews all over the place saying, we haven't got invited to the DNC. They haven't accepted our invitation for her to come to a roundtable, so she comes to the roundtable. Same format, same questions. Rank and file members are asking her questions just like they asked every other candidate. And they were trying to negotiate with us. She only wants to answer 3 questions. We're like, there's 16 questions here. So she answers 3 of them. And on the 4th question, one of her operatives or one of her staff slips a note in front of me. This will be the last question. And it was 20 minutes earlier than the time that it was going to end.
Wow. I mean, the amazing arrogance. And I think, many of us maybe thought that Kamala Harris was an outlier in the party, but actually I think she embodies what is fundamentally wrong with the party. It's the, I know what's good for you, as Tim was just saying. We know what's good for you. Who are you to question me? I'll answer 3 questions. I don't need to answer any more. That's amazing. I mean, my God, you're there with the Teamsters. Earlier in that interview, he was really appalled and very, very, I think, resentful would be the best word, of one of her handlers, I think, had said to one of the Teamster people, I think it was the vice president of the Teamsters, hey, you've got to, you need to get behind us, and you need to get behind us quick. It may have even been Kamala basically waving her finger in their face. It's that entitlement mentality, that expectation that, hey, we're the Democrats, we're the special ones, we're the chosen ones, and there's something wrong with you if you choose not to back us. That's a pathological, that's a psychiatric diagnosis in my book. And I'm so thankful that that woman is not going to be sitting in the Oval Office.
Yeah, how ironic is it that her whole platform was joy, and they're actually the most depressed and miserable people on the planet?
Yeah. We were talking about how liberal women, Arthur Brooks was saying how liberal women are now among the most unhappy, even outstripping the unhappiness of liberal men earlier in the program. And I don't know, there just appears to be, and you could tell that in the subtext and the undertones of Kamala Harris's communications. You could tell when she was resentful, when she was angry, when she was, I think, disappointed that people just weren't coronating her as the queen, in the second coming. My goodness, it was just amazing. But Sean O'Brien, while they didn't endorse Trump, they certainly, I think many of the rank and file were certainly probably with Trump. And we'll have to see where this goes, though, I'm going to be curious to see how the union Trump nexus works out here. Because, I mean, I think we have seen union bosses, union leadership sometimes take advantage of the position and power they have. We've had callers here on the air and texters that say, "Hey, I'm a union guy, but I don't back the Democrats. My union, this or that union may have backed them, but I don't personally." So we'll have to see whether the union leadership begins to follow in lockstep to what the rank and file in some places have wanted to do. Similarly, we have to be careful that we don't overstep the union's welcome into the Republican tent either. And I don't mean that in a denigrating way regarding unions, but sometimes unions can protect the unprotectable, right? The things that shouldn't be protected. Unions can sometimes do that. Mediocrity protection, I call it. Trump is going to have to watch that. Being a populist, obviously, there's, I think, this tendency to want everyone to be happy. And if you're going to be an effective leader, as you try to rein in big government, you try to rein in the welfare state, you try to increase individual liberty, you're going to rub some people the wrong way. And it's going to take some sharp elbows. And I don't know, frankly, I don't know whether the narcissist in Trump is going to manage that very well. We'll have to see. I mean, spending is the biggest issue, right? He's not going to touch Social Security. He's not going to touch Medicare. There is a way to save money in those programs, and that is by changing the way they're administered. So hopefully there'll be some work done there. But, some of these core programs are the ones that we're going to have to tackle over the next 5 to 10 years. And, well, let's ask you, Jerome. You're a young guy. You're having some withholding from your check on Social Security, right?
Yep.
Would you rather have a system where it would be a defined contribution and you would be part of a private system? Or would you rather have it the way it is?
My personal opinion on this, based on my research, is Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. Like, quite literally, word for word definition, it's a Ponzi scheme. If I could opt out of it, I would absolutely opt out of it. Or maybe if there was some way that if it's going to be taken out of my paycheck to support the retiring generation, I could get some sort of tax credit or some sort of coupon code for a discount on something. I think that I would much rather, right now in my life where I'm at, and I'm certain that a lot of people that are my age, maybe some Gen Xers, but definitely the millennials, would agree that we need the money more now. It would be nice to be able to think about 30 something years from now. I think I'm like 36, 37 years from retirement age, but it'd be nice to be able to think about, setting up for that. But right now, with everything Bidenomics and the effects that it's had on us, I think I would much rather be able to keep that money and maybe have some sort of cutoff where, the previous generations that have already contributed, I'm willing to even just cut my losses on it and get like a partial refund and just end the system entirely.
Yeah. I think that the American political class has gotten themselves into a bit of a bind, starting with FDR when the Social Security scheme started. It's called SSI, supplemental security income.
Mm-hmm.
But there are large numbers of Americans that is their retirement. That is their sole source of income.
Well,
and as we've talked before, Americans have come to depend on the government when things get tough. So if you envision a scenario where you're opt in or opt out, what happens? Not you're not going to be there, but some people would opt out. They'll spend everything that they have. And money burning a hole in their pocket, and then they get to retirement age and they don't have anything. what's going to happen then?
Yeah, well, and that's I guess the overall, overarching problem. Maybe this is something we could have Zach Smith come on and talk a little bit more about sometime. But right now, the current structure is for every $1 that is taken out of your check for that, you will see about 85 cents returned back to you when you retire. And in order for it to not go insolvent, which I know there's discussion around that, but a report came out that said that they were thinking about lowering that to 67 cents per dollar. So 34% of whatever you are contributing into it is gone. You're not going to get that back. And that's to continue the program. I look at it as it's unfortunate. And I've not always been good with money, especially when I was, in my younger 20s, my late teens. But it should not be everybody's responsibility to ensure that you have a comfortable retirement. People like to say that, welfare and those kinds of programs and Social Security programs should be a safety net, not a hammock. But I would even argue it should be a trampoline. You should be able to, you hit that rock bottom for a moment and it helps bounce you back to where you need to be.
Yeah.
Social Security is a hammock. It is the younger generations are paying into it to support the retirement of the elderly. And I understand that there are people that are, they need extra care because your body starts to fail you. Something could have happened that stopped you from working, all that kind of stuff. But it should be the responsibility, in my opinion. My retirement should be completely dependent on my decision-making skills, my ability to save. And I think that the more government programs we have to support people, I mean, it's just going to be an endless loop because there's always going to be somebody sitting there saying, well, I paid into it. Why can't I get it? That's why I think it should be an opt-out thing. The people willing to pay into it, you can access it.
Yeah.
Everybody else, take 50% of what I've contributed and just give me that 50% back. Keep the rest of it. I don't care. I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah, I think, it would make sense to think about reform in at least making it a defined contribution system to where, but not going into a government safety deposit box, right?
You have
It should go into
401ks.
the market.
Yeah.
Let it go into the market. Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to define someone save, because a lot of people won't save for themselves. I mean, I think it's a huge insult to people to tell them you can't take care of yourself. You can't look to the future. So we're going to make sure you do. But if that's the rules of the road that we're playing by, at least involve that money, those funds in the market. It would make the market go great. It would provide investment and capital for, we talked about AI with Mike McClary earlier, how, the energy demands, the chip demands, it's going to take tremendous capital. Well, why not have people's Social Security contributions go into capital investment, just like you would with your disposable income that you're investing in the market anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at the end of the day, you'd certainly have a bigger payout than people are seeing now. My God, they get a little paltry raise every year, and it's like little birds at the nest asking for a worm from mama. It just doesn't make sense to me. And, the other existential threat to the Social Security system is the lagging reproductive rate. I mean, we're just not replacing ourselves. And like you said, it is a bit of a pyramid scheme. You're depending on current workers to fund, retired workers. Well, if you have that dwindling pool of workers, it portends trouble in River City for sure. So I think there's a lot to be said there. I don't know whether Tim said it right. There's no way in 4 years, and really realistically, probably 18 months, 2 years at the most that Trump has to do, because he'll be a lame duck those last couple of years as the election cycle revs up for 28. And we don't know what's going to happen in the midterms. Most incumbent parties lose congressional members in the midterms. If that happens, I mean, forget it. He's dead in the water the last 2 years. But I'm optimistic. We've got a J.D. Vance on the front. I think J.D. is going to be a fantastic president. No reason he shouldn't accede to that office. There's no doubt about that. Of course, and he knows how to make biscuits. If you know how to make biscuits, as far as I'm concerned, you're a shoo-in. Yeah, that's very important. Hey, let's step aside and then we'll come back and wrap up the program. Your calls are welcome. 314-912-1019. What do you think about this H-1B visa issue? Is it right and a reasonable thing to do to bring in a limited and defined numbers of high intellect engineers, tech engineer type guys from India, from other countries? Or should we absolutely commit to only an American farm team? 314-912-1019. Let me know. We'll be back.
I think you all know that I've always felt the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Rolling like a lion, God's not dead.
I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. They keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Hey, I want to remind you that at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles, more often than not, you can get your crown, if you need a crown, and many of us do from time to time, the same day. They have this just cutting edge technology. We featured it on the program, and I Facebooked a post on it when I was out there seeing Dr. Dan Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer just a couple of weeks ago. It's an amazing machine. It's an amazing technology, and that's what they do at Advanced. They say Advanced Dentistry for a reason. They not only will cover your teeth, the gums around your teeth, and of course the crowns I mentioned, but TMJ is becoming an increasingly tough problem as we are grinding, as we are tense, as we are, really destroying the integrity of that jaw joint in many cases. And they can do great work there with some Botox and helping you there, as well as some aesthetic work. Check out all the great things they do. You can see a photo gallery of the befores and afters, too. It's a great website at advanceddentistrynow.com. It's advanceddentistrynow.com for Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles. Check them out today.
The Napoli heritage of fine dining continues with Napoli Kirkwood. Napoli Kirkwood, now open. So add that to Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C. And don't forget about Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the district, Chesterfield Valley. All of those locations, plus now, open, Napoli Kirkwood.
Attention off-road enthusiasts. Iron Bear Customs has the strongest bumpers on the planet. Plus, brush guards, lift kits, and custom cages for all vehicles. Visit ironbearcustoms.com and mention News Talk STL for 10% off. Iron Bear Customs, built tough for the toughest terrain.
Discover Patriot Powder Coating, your family-owned specialist in Pacific. From small jobs to big projects, we got you covered. Visit our showroom or call 636-551-0377. Mention News Talk STL for 10% off.
Attention St. Louis small business owners. Dive into the power of video with Blue Ocean Media Group. We create affordable, eye-catching content that makes waves on social media and strengthens your brand. Don't let big budgets hold you back. Our professional team delivers pro quality at small business prices. Boost your online presence, engage customers, and watch your business grow. Visit blueomg.com today to start your video journey. That's blueomg.com.
This hour, the Randy Tobler Show, brought to you by Advanced Dentistry Now. Doctors Dan Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer. 636-978-0226. Or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com.
We want our coffee in the light.
Hey, it looks like you like to get up early, so Monday through Friday, listen to me from 5:30 to 9. Mike Ferguson here, and you are listening to the Randy Tobler Show right here on News Talk STL.
And for all of us standing before you today, I can proudly proclaim that the golden age of America is upon us.
And Inauguration Day can't come soon enough, with Biden doing all he can to commute sentences of heinous criminals, spending infrastructure money left and right on projects that are going to lead to nowhere, packing the federal court and with more judges than most presidents in their entire term. He is trying to really leave office by leaving a legacy, and not a good one at that. Gene joins us now on the program. 314-912-1019. How you doing, Gene?
Hey, good. Happy New Year to everybody.
Same to you.
Your quest for comments about Elon and Vivek's thing, I think it's rather analogous to World War II atomic bomb development, when the country, by one way or another, got all the scientists from Germany and everything over here to push us ahead to develop the atomic bomb. If that were not to have happened, we would probably be living in a grossly different world right now. And unfortunately, in my opinion, the good majority of people that are being educated in the schools now are having such a disservice done to themselves by not being forced to perform to their best ability. That, I think, is really a national security issue. If you've got a dumb population, and I have had many of my patients when I'm sitting there talking to them at rest times during testing, that these people, so many of them have no deductive reasoning skills, can't do simple math, and are just basically lazy. Unfortunately, they're not all that way, but boy, there's a good chunk of them that are.
Well, you know, I think it started with No Child Left Behind. It was a well-intended educational move, but what that led to was grade inflation, Gene, at the K through 12 level, right? So that, you know, in order to get the funds and not get penalized by the various departments of education, state and federal, I think it's fair to say that the standards were lowered a little bit. You throw in then, of course, the standard lowering from the woke, social justice and affirmative action type maneuvers. And then in college, you have college grade inflation as well, where what entrance didn't a lot of colleges do away with the ACT or the SAT for entrance exams? It was more about your lived experience. How do we expect to
Yes.
get the best and the brightest coming out of those institutions?
That's exactly right. I mean, the bar is so low. I don't even know if it's laying on the ground. I think it's in a 3-inch ditch.
Well, but there are bright people like Jerome who could go out and probably develop an AI platform, by tomorrow evening, if we just unleashed his full potential.
Yeah, no pressure.
Oh, absolutely, and get the government the heck out of the way. I think an upcoming business would be for people that are interested in getting themselves re-educated to get an education that they missed in grade school and high school, so they can perform.
No, you're right. I mean, it's frightening when you see those man and woman on the street interviews when people don't know how many Congress people they are. They don't know how many senators a state has. Sometimes they can't name the vice president. And, I recognize that is not necessarily critical to a successful life, but there seems to be a general knowledge gap and a deficiency within America, especially about civics. And you see this in the election cycles where people are just not conversant with the way a representative republic works.
I agree.
All right. Well, Gene, we're going to have a better 25, and I guess you're going to be heading out on the
Absolutely.
road with that big, sleek RV of yours, right?
Yeah, sometime mid next year. But when that happens, we're still going to be here on Saturday morning.
All right. We hope so. And thanks for being here every Saturday morning. We appreciate it. There he is, Gene.
You're welcome. God bless y'all.
Gene, the talking machine. God bless you. Well, our Senator Eric Schmidt had something to say about Joe Biden's commutations of some sentences. Listen.
It's important, as a former prosecutor myself, I think it's important to talk about the victims here. Lexis Roberts went on a camping trip with her mother and Thomas Sanders. Thomas Sanders, on the way back, took her mother out and executed her in cold blood in front of Lexis, then slit Lexis Roberts' throat and let her die in the woods. This is someone that Joe Biden, on the eve of Christmas, decided to commute his sentence. This is nuts. This is totally nuts. And so the outrage is real. It's justified. And again, Joe Biden on his way out is, again, cementing his status as one of our worst presidents.
Well, and I think that's right. I think he is absolutely just painting an ugly picture of what a presidency should not look like. I mean, these guys are just heinous criminals, one after another. It's awful. And I don't really think it's even a pro-life argument he's making. I don't know what argument he's making. If he's going to be pro-life, how come he's giving these people a pass, but he's not giving unborn babies a pass? He's all in for abortion. It's so irrational to me.
And then there's also so right after that subway, the poor lady was set on fire by an illegal on the subway.
Yeah,
there was a politician, Valentina. I want to say her last name is Gomez, but I could be wrong about
Valentina Gomez.
Gomez, yes, and she released this video that essentially showed her doing a mock execution and saying, "This is going to be what we're going to do to any illegal that rapes or murders a U.S. citizen." The backlash that she faced for basically saying we're not putting up with this anymore in that video was greater than the backlash of commuting the sentences of people that are actually murdering people, and it's unbelievable.
Well, I tell you, we're going to go out here with some optimism. We're going to play a little clip from this is from 2014 when the star of That's So Raven gave Oprah a little lesson on being an American, because I think we are seeing many Democrats say, hey, you know what? I think this woke ideology, this identity politics has got to stop. I was pleased to resurrect this. I saw Jerome resurrected this for me. Take a listen.
Tired of being labeled. I'm an American. I'm not an African American. I'm an American.
Oh, girl, don't set up
get your
Twitter on fire.
What? What did you just say? I will say this. I don't know where my roots go to. I don't know how far back they go. I can't go on, I don't know what country in Africa I'm from. But I do know that my roots are in Louisiana. I'm an American, and that's a colorless person, because we're all people. I have lots of things running through my veins.
I mean, you're going to get a lot of flack for saying you're not African American. You know that, right?
I don't label myself.
Okay. So I want you to say what you really mean by that.
What I really mean by that is I'm an American. That's what I really mean.
Well, that was refreshing to hear. However, in a recent interview, she recalls the hailstorm of pushback that she got, the criticism, the denigration. Take a listen to this. This is amazing.
When that aired, I felt like the entire internet exploded and threw my name in the garbage. There was so much backlash from my community and others that misunderstood / didn't hear the exact words that I said. And the exact words that I said is that I'm an American, not an African American.
I'm an American. I'm not an African American. I'm an American.
A lot of people on the internet thought I said that I wasn't Black. And I never said that.
Difference.
There's a difference between being Black and African.
Well, I think it's fascinating that maybe, just maybe this is the year when we get over our balkanized politics. And, we are all Americans. That's what I pray for this 25. We'll see if indeed it happens. And we'll be following it, of course. Jerome and I, we will. Here on News Talk STL every Saturday morning. I want to thank you for joining us this morning. We'll head out with the full closer song, because I think it's important we hear this to give us a little momentum going into 25. All the best to you on this New Year holiday coming up. Hope you do well and have a healthy and happy New Year. We'll see you next week on The Tobler Show.
Of the lilies, Christ was born across the sea with a glory in his bosom that transfigures you and me, as he died to make men holy. Let us